So with respect to that item, that we're going to call consent, we do that at the approval of the agenda, or we do it at the?
You can do it either place, but I won't do
Okay.
it at the beginning, I think,
Okay.
unless you wanted to do it.
No, you seem to have a little more parliamentary procedure skills than I do. I would end up terminating the meeting.
That's a good one. Okay, ready? Ready, guys? Okay, it is May 29th, 2019. We're at a Board of Education regular meeting. This is the opening ceremony. It is 7 PM. Can I have a call to order, please?
Mrs. Etter.
Here.
Mr. Naaman.
Here.
Mr. Suchaki.
Here.
Mr. Dobbins.
Here.
Mrs. Schukert.
Here, 5 present, none absent. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to welcome all students, staff, and family members interested in tonight's Board of Education meeting. The board values any public comment and encourages it on educational issues. Anyone having an interest in the actions of the board may participate during the public comments portion of the meeting, and there is a sign-up sheet to sign up on that orange ledge over there. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, a copy of the board agenda is on the table for review, and a copy is on the website, www.cuyhts.org, and you'll also see the board minutes as on the TV. Please silence cell phones during the meeting. And at this time, I will allow a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Naaman,
Second,
seconded by Mr. Suchaki. Any discussion?
yes, I would like to take item 20A in the board consent agenda and move it to a separate agenda item.
Okay, so basically taking it off of,
The consent
consent.
agenda, right.
okay,
Leaving it on the agenda, but
right,
off the
but
consent
making it
portion.
more of a private discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Any other discussion items? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Mrs. Schukert.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to comments from the public. Do we have anyone signed up? Let me go see. Mr. Robinson, and you were just signing in? Yeah. Anybody else? All right. It's all right. I think it actually did say sign in some way, shape, or form at once.
You can say whatever you want at this point if you like.
Okay, moving right on to the fun part of the night, the recognition of the students of the month. So I will hand it over to Mr. Evans or Mr. Coleman.
I'm just gonna pass it off to Mr. Coleman,
All
so.
right, there we go.
Great, thanks, everybody. And I'll just say, it's been my honor, it's gonna be my honor and privilege to recognize our May Students of the Month, and it's been my honor and privilege to do this all year. This is a really, really cool tradition that I've been grateful to be a part of. It's kind of the highlight of, it's one of the highlights of my month, not only the recognitions here at the board, but the interviews and conversations with the kids are fun, refreshing, kind of great way to get to know the kids. And I'm grateful to have a Board of Education that values placing so much time, valuable time in recognizing our students. So it's been a great tradition, and I'm excited to get this one underway. So, without further ado, we're gonna call it Ariana Ravello. All right.
Don't run away, Ariana.
Come on.
Oh, you don't get off that easy,
Much
Ariana.
more.
Nice things that embarrass you a little bit, okay? So Ariana Ravello is our 6th grade student of the month for May. She comes to us from Brooklyn Heights. Mom is Lindsay, dad is Amrit. One sibling, Ariel, who graduated from Cuyahoga Heights with the class of 2015, and Ariel currently attends Ohio University. Ariana explained to me that she wants to be an orthodontist when she grows up. She wants to be an orthodontist because she feels like helping people smile will be a good way to help them become more confident. She likes the idea of that being her life's work. After about her subject, and she said science is her favorite subject. I asked her why. She said, I like to learn about how the world works. Stuff there. Favorite teacher she mentioned was Mrs. Andreski, and of Mrs. Andreski, she mentioned that she's funny, she's generous, and her classroom feels very welcoming. And then I asked each student, this being the month of May, kind of the end of the school year, what's a favorite memory from this 2018-2019 school year? And Ariana mentioned the zoo field trip, which happened just the previous week, stating I haven't been there in a while and it was nice to go back. The 6th grade team said the following about Ariana. Ariana Rebello is our May student of the month. Ariana is such a polite, hardworking young lady. She can always be counted on to have her work completed on time and strive to do her best. With test prep well underway in 6th grade, Ariana has really been pushing herself daily to soar to new heights. She's been participating more in class discussion, and her newfound confidence is really beginning to pay off. Way to go, Ariana. We are all so proud of you. So again, quick round of applause. We're going to slide down just a smidge here. There we go. Next up, Andrew McDonald. Come on up, Andrew. All right. There we go, Andrew. There you go. All right. It's hard to get words out of Andrew. We're eking things out of him during our interview, right? Okay. Andrew is our 7th grade student of the month for May. He comes to us from Valley View. Dad is Jeff, mom is Bonnie. His siblings are Allison, who graduated in the class of 2016 and currently attends Kent State University, and Austin, who just graduated last year with the class of 2018, who was attending Otterbein and is planning on transferring to Toledo at this point. In terms of future plans, Andrew explained he wants to be a professional baseball player. Now, that, again, with the professional sports, we always try and tease out a plan B. That I had that dream as well, and it didn't quite fall that way. So I want to have a plan B. He talked about possibly serving as a manager or even being a radio announcer for baseball, but he's definitely a big fan and advocate for baseball. I asked him about his favorite subject. He said math, and why? He said, I'm good at it. I like the hubris there. Very nice. Favorite teacher said Mr. Tartera. He's funny, he's nice, and he explains things well. His favorite activity this year was Future City. He said it was fun because we were able to build things, but also focus on working with our friends while we were building stuff. And then the 7th grade team had the following to say about Andrew. Andrew's been working very hard, and although quiet, he leads by example. He is observant, helpful, and determined to do well. He truly is an asset to his class. Andrew's favorite book is Wonder. His favorite class is math. Andrew is also an avid sports fan. He enjoys playing basketball and baseball. He also likes video games. Andrew explains that he admires his dad because Andrew says he helps me become really good at sports. Andrew also has some advice for his friends, which is to listen and to help people when they need help. For all these reasons and more, Andrew McDonald is being nominated for the 7th grade student of the month for May. So again, a quick round of applause. Okay, you can slide down a little bit there, Andrew, and make room for Hannah Trusso. All right, Hannah's our 8th grade student of the month. Hannah comes to us from Cuyahoga Heights. Dad is Frank, mom is Carol. Dad's recording me right now, I think. Just a snapshot, no worries. In terms of siblings, Alex, who's a 9th grader and soon to be a 10th grader at Cuyahoga Heights High School. Hannah says when she grows up, she wants to be an ultrasound technician. She said, I think it's a cute job, and I like the idea of showing families their babies. Plus, it pays pretty well, so you get a small bonus there, right? Nice. Hannah explained that English is her best subject, and that Miss DeVito is her favorite teacher by explaining that Miss DeVito helps her a lot. If I'm struggling, she will keep helping me until I understand things. She said her favorite memory of the school year was the Washington, D.C. trip, which doesn't surprise me for an 8th grader. It was really cool to explore all the different monuments and learn about our country's history. It was also just nice walking around with my friends and seeing a new city. Good stuff. And then the 8th grade team had the following nice things to say about Hannah. Hannah is a quiet and kind young lady. She is diligent in completing her work and always strives to do her best. She's really stepped it up over the last month, and her effort has not gone unnoticed. We are lucky to have Hannah as a member of our team. Congratulations, Hannah. We are proud of you. So, to us from Valley View. Parents are Lisa and Skip. Tommy explained that he has 3 sisters, and I grew up with nothing but sisters as well. We talked a little bit about that. Sarah, class of 2013, Beth, class of 2016, and Becca, who's currently a 10th grader here at Knights High School. Tommy explained he wants to pursue a career in music. I asked a little more about that. He said it could mean anything from starting an old school rock band to potentially involving learning how to compose. Anything in between is on the table, he said. I asked him about his favorite teacher. Not surprisingly, he said Mr. Sokol, band teacher. He explained Mr. Sokol is a really good teacher. He's nice to be around, nice to work with, plus it aligns with what I want to focus on. Favorite memory, and Tommy gave me about 30 seconds of wait time. He kind of did a I thought something good might be coming, so I waited him out. Then he said, I really have to think about this one. So Tommy in deep thought for about 30 seconds. He came up with this. He said, starts off with, so, I'm in honors algebra 2. And at this time of year, Mr. Coleman, we were preparing for the winter choir concert. And Kyle Novak came into my class and informed my teacher, Mr. Martin, that we would not be able to attend 3rd period class because we had to attend choir rehearsal. And then Mr. Martin whipped back with, well, I don't know about that. Maybe I want to join the choir. What are you guys singing? He said, Carol of the Bells, Mr. Martin. Then Mr. Martin explained, well, what kind of talent do you guys have down there? Because I don't want to come down there and outshine everybody. So I think that was Mr. Martin's way to maybe step out of having to go down and perform in front of the choir. First, I would have liked to have seen it, but then they will get that down the road. And oddly enough, Mr. Martin is the teacher who nominated Tommy. And of Tommy, Mr. Martin says the following. Tommy is an excellent student in Honors Algebra 1. He performs consistently at a high level and demonstrates creativity in his problem solving. Tommy communicates his math understanding effectively and is an excellent role model for other students. So again, congratulations, great work, Tommy. Next up, Madison Vance. All right, so 10th grade student of the month for May is Madison Vance. Madison comes to us from Brooklyn Heights. Mom is Cindy, and Madison explained she has 1 sibling, Robert. We had to look this up, but we verified class of 2017. Madison explained that she wants to become a physical therapist, and to that end, Madison will be participating in the sports medicine program next year at CBCC. She explained that math is her best subject, and again, I asked why. She said, I guess I'm just good at it. She explained that Mrs. Bennett is her favorite teacher, explaining that I really think it's fun, I really enjoy learning a different language. And we talked about how that might be a nice support serving as a physical therapist and having a bilingual skill set, very good thing to have in your back pocket. And then favorite memory was going to basketball games with my friends. It was really fun to participate in the student section and support the team. And then Mr. DeRazio, her geometry teacher, was Madison's nominator, and of Madison, Mr. DeRazio said the following. Madison did a great job on the probability unit in geometry this past month. She completed all assignments with great effort and precision. She then finished up the unit with one of the highest scores on the unit test. So great job, Madison. Next up, Katie Keith.
Yep.
No Katie. Wow. Katie has some good stuff to share. No worries. I will embarrass her. All right, last, certainly not least, our newest Cuyahoga Heights alumni member, well, I can't say twelfth grader, alumni member, Tristan DeFranco. Come on up, Tristan. So Tristan had the honor of walking across the stage this past month, and like I said, is now no longer a 12th grader and is one of our alumni. So as our esteemed alumni, I'm going to say the following about Tristan. He comes to us from Brooklyn Heights. Mom is Wendy, dad is Fred. Siblings, McKenna, class of 2016, and Tiernan, who's currently a 9th grader and is going to be a sophomore in very short order. Future plans, Tristan is going to be attending Lakeland Community College. He plans on majoring in personal training and is planning on playing baseball collegiately, so great stuff there. His favorite subject, he explained, is English. His favorite teacher, he said, is Mr. Kovich. stating, "I like his personality, I like the way he gets us motivated, gets people motivated to perform well during class." And favorite school memory, he states he liked beating the staff in the dodgeball.
right.
So good work, we would expect that from a collegiate athlete. And then, Tristan's nominator was Mr. Kovich, oddly enough, and of Tristan, Mr. Kovich said the following: "Tristan's been working very hard in the weight room and is beginning to see great results. This week he benched 210 pounds and deadlifted 400 pounds. He's sort of getting out of bed in the morning just reading that. He will come very close to achieving the 1,000-pound club in the spring. Did you not get that or no?
Yeah.
You did, nice, all right, good work. He's a great teammate with his sports teams as well. He works hard, a little goofy at times, but his heart is in the right place. Great job, Tristan. Guys, who maybe have a seat while Mrs. Houchin gets her kiddos up here, and then we'll call you back up in a moment.
Shake your
to get some
hands.
pictures.
Wait, now they gotta do the handshake,
Oh, we got the
Mr.
handshake.
Coleman.
I'm practicing my handshake all
You
day.
gotta- You gotta come by.
My apologies. Gotta do the handshake.
Lead the way, Tristan, out front here.
Making it awkward.
Look in your college and baseball career. Congratulations. Congratulations, Madison.
Congratulations.
Tommy, good luck to you. Oh, that's Tommy. Wait, that's not the wrong person. Here's
Congratulations, good luck. Nice job. Nice job.
Ariana, do you remember me? Do you remember Victoria? Better? Yeah, I'm her mom. And you know you look exactly like her. I can't get over. Nice to see you again.
Congratulations.
No, she would remember Victoria, she wouldn't remember me.
Secondary superintendent, don't go anywhere just yet. We're gonna have a quick photo op with our board members in a couple minutes as soon as we see how this stuff.
Before Mrs. Houchin's done, I'd like to address the seniors, and Tristan, I think it's appropriate that you would be the last senior recognized as Student of the Month, because you epitomize what the senior class was all about this year. You've done you've worked, nobody's worked harder than you. I've watched you for 4 years, put the time in I think you're 12 sporter for us. Do anything that any coach has asked of you to do in football and basketball and baseball, and then have such an outstanding senior year. I think that you were the perfect choice to be the last senior recognized as Student of the Month. And in true Tristan DeFranco fashion, after he graduated, is back here to be recognized with that. So I think that says everything that anybody needs to know about Tristan DeFranco as a student here at Cog Heights. And we're going to miss you, Tristan. You had a great career, and best of luck to you as you move forward.
That's what we were just saying back there, the senior already graduated, came back, that's why you're getting this. I have fifth graders tonight, so we're really excited to introduce our two students of the month for the elementary school who are in fifth grade. First up, Gavin Klein. And they're getting taller than me. Should have worn my heels. All right, Gavin lives with mom Dawn Durbin in Brooklyn Heights and dad Scott Klein. He has a brother Jacob who is 18 and who is in Virginia. He is in which armed force? Army. He's in the Army. I had boot camp in Virginia, but I didn't know which branch he was. And then Torin, who's in 7th grade. He has 2 dogs and 2 cats. The dogs' names are Otis and Daphne. Cats, Azrael, which I love because Smurfs, and Isabella. His favorite subject, he said, I said, what's your favorite thing about school? He said, just learning in general. And then I questioned him a little more, like, what's your favorite subject? And he said science, because he likes learning about galaxies and space, which is 5th grade science for sure. As far as activities go, he likes sports. He says he plays football, soccer, baseball, and basketball. So they're going to be happy to have you come over here. He likes to play video games and then just hang out with friends and family. As far as middle school goes, what he's most looking forward to is a longer lunchtime with some better choices. They do get more choices over here. And when he grows up, he wants to be a football player. And I asked him what he's going to do when he's too old and decrepit to play football anymore, because I do not crush dreams. And he said that he would be a doctor or in medicine of some sort. So that's a good one. To his family, he wanted to say thank you for all you have done to help me up to this point through 5th grade. And his teachers had this to say about him. Gavin Klein was chosen for Student of the Month because he is hardworking and kind-hearted. Gavin is a good friend to his peers. He participates regularly in all of his classes and produces quality work. He has become quite the leader, especially in Mrs. Boswell's class. He collaborates well with others and listens to everyone's ideas. Gavin has been challenging himself more and taking risks. Congratulations, Gavin. And next we have Aurora Robinson. Aurora, her parents are here tonight, Chad and Kelly Robinson. They live in Garfield Heights. She has a brother, Will, who's in 1st grade. And when I asked her about pets, oh my, she has a lot of pets. She has a rabbit named Caliber, 4 cats named Peppermint, Pumpkin, Milo, and Batman. And she said the last she knew 11 fish, but Peppermint is always drinking the water, so sometimes a fish might disappear. That's great. Her favorite subject is art and activities. As far as activities go, competitive dance. Everything, she does all types of dance except hip hop. She dances every day except Sunday. So I said, do you have time for anything else? And she said, eat and sleep. That's it. That's it. As far as middle school goes, she's most excited to get to meet some new teachers. And when she grows up, this is a surprise, she wants to be a dance teacher, but she also said she'd like to be a physical therapist, which I think is really good. It's one you can do both. Physical therapist during the day, dance teacher in the evening. Good job. To her family, she said, I love you very much. And her teachers had the following to say about her. Aurora Robinson was chosen because she is a role model for her peers. She tries very hard inside and outside of the classroom. She's a dedicated, competitive dancer. She always greets her teachers and says goodbye when she leaves. If she misses class, she is responsible and comes to get makeup work, which is turned in quickly. She is conscientious while completing work and seeks feedback from her teachers. Congratulations, Aurora. You two handshake with the board, and then if we could have all of our students of the month come up to the stairs for a picture.
I don't know.
We're gonna bring
It's the first
it
time I've-
back.
Public comments.
Bring it back. I know people showed up that wanted to have public comments. Just an FYI, we do put public comments at the beginning, therefore hoping to get a bigger crowd when we have these student recognition ceremonies. It's not to try to get it out of the way from the public or anything like that. So, but we know that, people have reached out. Absolutely. So, public comment at this time. I don't know, did you guys sign up?
Do I have to sign this book?
Is it just you?
I'm sorry?
Is,
No.
like, yeah, anyone that wants to talk, if you could sign in, I don't really know what we do with it, but. that's
Just keep
the
a record.
procedure. Okay. So if you could sign up, and then that way I could just call you up from that.
I missed that part where it says, do you want to? All right,
I know, well, it's been a while since we've had someone comment, so
Sorry.
it's refreshing to remember the rules. And Crystal, you're first.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if that's okay.
No, I'm fine with that.
So if you could just introduce even though.
I'm Crystal Do I have to talk through this thing?
Yeah, because we record them, so.
Okay.
You don't have to be, you-
Is it on?
it'll pick you up, Crystal, yeah.
All right, I'm Crystal Blashinsky. I'm at 710 Tuxedo in Brooklyn Heights. So the reason I'm here today is to address all of you because I feel like the school has a serious bullying problem. Let me start by saying many people told me not to go to you guys. They said it's pointless. They're not gonna do anything. They're not gonna hear you. I didn't listen. I'm trusting you. I'm giving you that trust until you give me a reason not to. I've written notes, but I'm not gonna read off of a piece of paper. I want this to come from the heart and how I truly feel. Let me start off by saying I have 3 students, one who's graduated in 2015, one who's going to graduate next year, and one who's currently going to be an 8th grader. Let me start by saying this really triggered me when my youngest son, who's in 8th grade, has been bullied nonstop all year. I have addressed it with every administrator in this school. One part that sticks out to me and I actually, maybe I don't have it with me, I left so quickly, sorry. A substitute teacher decided to write on a piece of paper that my son's hair was a different color, my son's nails were painted, and maybe he needed help. This was in the view of other students. How is that okay? So let me tell you what occurred. I reached out to Mr. Burek. I reached out to Mr. Evans. My son left the classroom, took the piece of paper. I think she's a counselor, forgive me, I'm not sure. Mr. Evans calls me, very apologetic. Gives me the excuse, this gentleman is an older gentleman. He doesn't understand. That makes it okay? Tells me I'm gonna have a conversation with this teacher. Then I will speak to your son. I'm sorry, how long ago was it? That boy's never been spoken to. What kind of support does that show? And I hate to direct you, 2 months I supported you. 2 months. I was there, front row and center, to support you, because I trusted you in taking care of the school. This is what ends up happening. No follow-up. That breaks my heart because I thought the world of you. Let me move on to, my son is openly, in case none of you realize at this point, my son is openly gay, okay? He started his own LGBT club, but stopped it because of certain people within the school would not support it. And it's not children that didn't support it. It's teachers that didn't support it. That's a problem.
Crystal, can I ask, I don't know if we're allowed to do this, but how do you know, like, teachers didn't support in what way?
When my child comes home and tells me things that are being said by other teachers, that's a problem. He decided to stop. So then we moved on to Brandon was threatened with proof by a 9th grader. It was told to the administrator, I showed the proof. The student was suspended. However, he looked directly in the administrator's face and said, if you suspend me, I will hurt him when I come back into the school. I begged that administrator to protect my child. To this day, he has constant, I don't want to say contact, it hasn't been real bad contact, but he's around my child on a regular basis. We have another student who's a tuition student who's been suspended multiple times, 2 times for altercations with my son. Why is the student still in the school? Why? Because daddy makes buku bucks? That's probably why. So then we have a teacher within the school who multiple witness students in another classroom where my son was not present and addressed my son's nails, my son's hair. How is that okay? My son's not even sitting there to defend himself. I have to be told what's occurred in this classroom. Is that okay? So the last incident was a student in gym class physically assaulted my son. This just happened within the last couple weeks. So before I start this is what I was informed by multiple parents within the district. If you didn't grow up in the district as a parent, you don't belong. That's the message that comes across from certain parents. I'm not saying that that's the case, because I can say, I've been to Lindy's house, things like that. It's not all parents. But let me tell you why I say that I'm starting to believe it's true. So Brandon was had physical contact with another student in gym class. He reported it to the gym teacher. He as well had multiple witnesses. The gym teacher never pursued it. She just let it go. Brandon was uncomfortable in the locker room because they were making comments to him. That's not okay. I thought, well, the teacher's gonna handle it. 2 days later, I think it was 2 days later, on a Friday, he's calling me hysterical. Mom, I need to come home. He was in fear of being hurt. I had to call a neighbor from work to come pick up my child from school. He was so terrified. I called another administrator in the school. He said he'll deal with it on Monday. I gave him that. It was Friday. So Monday comes along. This particular kid who did this to him in school, one of his friends decided to physically put his hands on my child on Saturday. Well, that's beyond the school's control. Brooklyn Heights was notified about it. So then comes Monday. So the answer to all of this on Monday from this particular administrator was, Ms. Blashinsky, you do know that you're in a community that doesn't have very open-minded people. That was my answer. How can you tell a parent who is coming to you that you don't live in a community that has open-mindedness to stuff like this? That's not okay with me. So to conclude, I hold my children very accountable. Anybody who knows my children, whether it's my daughter to my youngest, you call me from school and my kid's done something wrong and you're gonna punish them, I'm gonna support you 125%. Any administrator in this school, including Mr. Evans, can tell you, I will do that. But this bullying has got to stop. Are we gonna be the next mentor school? Is my child gonna be the next mentor school? Is it gonna happen in this school? I'm coming to you guys for your support, because I'm gonna tell you as a parent, this is not okay at all. My child is bullied, and the answer to what is bullying, this is not bullying. If you are physically being assaulted on a daily basis and you're being called a faggot and a gay wad, that's bullying. And if that's not bullying, I don't know what is. So I pray to God, as you people being board members, that you will step up and at least investigate it. Please investigate it. Please look at this. My child suffers every day, is terrified to walk into that school. Do you know how much school he's missed this year? Let's put it this way. I got a letter from the school because he was at that max. That's not okay. You know, you really have to step in and do something, because I'm sorry, I have lost faith in the administrators handling this at all. I've begged them, I've emailed them, I've told them. And the two things that stick out was the situation with Mr. Evans with no follow-up, and the last response that I got of, Ms. Blashinsky, this is not an open-minded community. Maybe none of you are open-minded. I don't know. Maybe you're against gays. Maybe you don't think it's right. Sorry if you feel that way. Maybe you are closed-minded. But I'm gonna tell you one thing. As a damn mother, I'm gonna support that kid till the day I die. And I sure as heck, sorry, something else was gonna come out of my mouth. I sure as heck hope you guys will support them, because let me tell you, there are a lot of parents in this community that do support my son, welcome my son with open arms. And let me give you one example of how proud I am of this kid. And this may make you laugh a little bit, I don't know. So for Halloween, he dressed up and wanted to show his pride. So he dressed up as super gay. That was his costume, okay? So in the community, there were some people who looked down upon that. I don't care, look down upon Adam. That's who he is. Would you want any of your children to change who they are? I doubt it. So I just hope as a board you'll at least investigate, see if there's issues going on, because there's a serious problem in this school. And I would hate to see that one of these children end up doing something stupid that this school is going to regret. And if it becomes my child, I promise you, something's gonna happen. I'm coming to you. I was told not to come to you, not to have faith in you guys. I'm coming to you with faith. I see some of you with smiles on your face. I'm not okay with it, so I'm gonna walk away before I say something I regret. Thank you.
Crystal, I just want to say this. I take LGBTQ rights very seriously, and Brandon, I'm sorry for whatever's happened to you. I take it very seriously, honey. I am a school counselor. If I didn't, I wouldn't be good at my job. I wouldn't be in education. So I take this seriously, and Mr. Evans and school board, we need to look into this. You know, whether it's isolated incidents, whether it's, this is not okay. This is not okay. In today's day and age, there needs to be advocacy for this group of at-risk youth, especially with the highest, you know, suicidal rates and things like that. This is not, we are not gonna be another mentor. We're not. So, you know, whatever we can do, you know, we have different roles up here, and I don't know if you're familiar with what the school board does versus administrators, but thank you for being open, thank you for sharing, because without us knowing these things, there's nothing we can do.
And I also have examples for you of everything that I've spoken about as well.
Okay.
If you'd like to
So if
see those.
anybody wants to contact her, we could do that. And I know we're supposed to keep, I don't even remember, 2 minutes or whatever. We could be open as long as we're not getting totally out of hand with time, okay? So if you see me go like, you know, we can always continue conversation. Next up, Holly.
Actually, I'm gonna wait a minute, and
Okay,
we're going a little out of order.
Okay,
Apologies,
Michael?
but
Yep.
or I should say Mr. Kilton, I'm sorry, I'm being.
My name is Michael Kilton. I reside at 4754 Dorset Drive in Brooklyn Heights, Ohio. I currently have a student here, is my son, who is 7th grade, going into the 8th grade. I have a soon-to-be 3-year-old at home, which we were looking at high intentions of sending her to preschool here, but obviously I'll discuss that in a minute. The reason I'm here is because I was brought about this one, my son's friends with Brandon, he's a family friend, the whole family's a friend, and I was brought about this. A lot of reasons I was brought about this, because we hear that the situation has never happened at Heights. Well, it has. It has happened, it's been documented. My own son has been bullied here. Again, the words by administration and staff was that your son's not being bullied, it's just kids. Not true. I went to all the administration staff, I sent emails to a couple board members. Nothing got done, nothing. Nothing. And to hear these stories today, that it's still happening, do we want to be mentor? Because I can tell you, my niece goes a mentor, that was her friend that committed suicide. 13 years old. Bullying. Should we review the one that just happened in Parma at Valley Forge? 15 years old, hung herself. This is close to home, people. That was my best friend's niece, by the way. Is Cuyahoga Heights waiting for it to happen? Because we, as much as parents think we know our kids, we don't. My friend's niece, her parents didn't even think a day of it. The 13-year-old girl, mom's begging right now, I wish there was something we could have did. People, there is stuff we can do. My voice was not heard. I was told there's no bullying at Heights, there's no documentation through the state board. If you look at the state board records for bullying in this school district, it's either 1 or 0 cases every year. Well, there's at least 6 cases here tonight. 6. And this is just parents who are openly willing to finally come here. Because when I was doing this, I was by myself. So, because I had no support, and I mean, I went through all the administration, went all the way up to Mr. Evans. My son went to Mr. Evans. My son went to the principals, did his job. He finally defended himself, and what did they do? They want to suspend him. Because he, stuck up for himself. That was the last straw. I did file a complaint with the State of Ohio Board of Education. I did file a complaint with the Civil Rights Commissioner. To this day, I don't know if it's happened, but supposedly the school administration for the middle school level, all teachers and administration were supposed to go through some type of bullying program. I don't know if that has happened yet. The civil rights guy who I was in contact with, who met with Mr. Evans, Mr. Claris, and Mr. Beer, and myself, he was supposed to be finding out if it happened or not. So I don't know if it happened. That was the deal that was supposed to happen. It needs to stop. I feel that nobody here, I'm one of those parents. I feel there's no support. I feel that nobody cares. It's gonna take a tragedy like Mentor and Valley Forge High School, actually Mentor was a middle school, for something to finally get done. There's a lot going on behind these doors over here, and these are our kids. They need help. And I'm all for the parents that are here tonight. The bullying for my son still exists. Not so much on a school level anymore, because he does the document, he goes to the school, and I think because I filed a complaint, whatever, they look into it. You know, they still talk to him, is it really bullying, Brandon? Yes, it's bullying. They still try to convince him that it's not bullying. They call him fat, like every day. He's a little chunky. They call him a blueberry. They make fun of him in gym class because he's overweight. He's not overweight. The doctor, he gets a physical every year just like every other kid. He's just a chunky, needs to grow up, go through puberty, and get tall and lose a little bit of baby fat. Doesn't mean he has to go through every day being called fat. Or you're stupid, because he goes to a special study hall. Because he's in IEP, you know, kids, they call him stupid. He's not stupid. My son's very smart. He works every day on commercial landscaping equipment with me. Not too many 13-year-olds can go and grab a weed whip and put professional results on a customer's property, but he does. He works every day after school. He's not stupid. He thinks he's stupid when he comes here. He's afraid, just like Brandon, afraid to come here. I mentioned my daughter. She is not coming to Cuyahoga Heights at all. Brandon's got 5 more years here. We're hoping he wants to stay here for whatever reason. I let him make that decision. My daughter's too young. The decision's been made. Unless I see some real changes at this school district, she will never be enrolled here. So I support the parents. I hope more parents come forward because, believe me, there's a problem here, people. There's more than just what's here tonight. It's gonna happen. Trust me, it's gonna happen. So, thank you for hearing us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you want to go or do you want me to keep going? Okay.
Representing 710 Tuxedo, I'm trying to be short and sweet. My mom basically.
Brian, can you speak up just because that thing just went on to it?
710 Tuxedo Avenue, Brooklyn Heights. I'm gonna try and be sweet, because my mom basically said it all. But this all comes down to my brother. He doesn't deserve any of this. The kid wakes up and doesn't want to go to school. Cuyahoga Heights is the type of school where you want to wake up, you want to go there and get a great education. I put my heart and soul in this school, from sports all the way to getting an education. I get bullied too because I'm not the smartest kid. I'm an IEP. I get made fun of because I'm in the dumb classes. And this bullying is getting out of hand. It needs to be controlled. And Brandon, we don't see eye to eye sometimes, but when he gets bullied, it hits deep. And Mr. Evans, please take care of him. I know we have a good relationship. Please take care of my brother. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
I don't know your names. Gina. Sorry about that, Miss Andracy, Jess.
I'm Gina Andracy. I'm at 12955 Tinkers Creek Road. I'm new to the district. I didn't grow up here, so we've been here about 6 years. My kids have been in the elementary school for 5 years. So I have 3 kids at the elementary school level right now. This year has been a rough year. Ms. Houchin knows that. We've met, we've been talking. My daughter, who's in 4th grade, my son, who's in 3rd, started to not want to come to school, started to cry. You can see if you look back at the records from the previous year, we had like perfect attendance. And if you looked at the records this year, you'll see how many times we were tardy because my kids were crying. They didn't want to come to school. It was very hard to get them to school. They would miss the bus and I would drive them. And I don't know if we want to call it bullying or just chronic meanness. My son is overweight and he gets called fat every single day. He gets told that he looks like a bowling ball. He's 8, so that that impacts his self-esteem quite a bit. And I understand that the teachers aren't in every corner to hear this, but I think it comes down to the lack of programming and teaching children how to be nice to one another. I mean, how would you like it if you came to work every day and somebody said, hey, fatty, what's up? Hey, ugly, hey, stupid, and every day you heard that. And it was just considered teasing, not bullying. How would you internalize that? How would that make you feel? So, you know, my kids are at the elementary school level. If you don't put the programming in place now, by the time they move up to the middle school and high school, it's just gonna get worse and worse. It's already really bad. You don't have the programming. So I'm an educator, I'm a school psychologist. I've been in this field for 20 years, and I'm a parent, and I'm so touched by everything I've heard so far. This could be a great place. This could be a great district. Your academics are spot on. My God, what this elementary school has done with my children as far as reading, amazing. You have this wonderful, RTI, tiered approach to reading. You brought my two kids, my daughter who has severe ADHD, my son who has some learning differences himself, and you got him to read without even putting him in special education. That's phenomenal. Why can't you do that with the social emotional curriculum? Why can't you start looking at programs? Why can't you devote the summer to finding a program and implementing it? So in Cleveland, we have a program called PATHS. This is a social emotional curriculum that's built into the general ed curriculum. The general ed teachers implement this program, okay? So it's embedded into the standards. It's in everything we do in Cleveland. Brecksville is doing this. Berea is doing this. This is everywhere. You're behind. You guys are behind. You are. The schools are catching on to this issue because they're acknowledging it. It's a big problem. Kids are mean. Why are they mean? Well, I don't know why, but I do know that they spend a third of their time at the school, a third of the time at home, and then a third of the time sleeping, right? So we're equal partners. You send homework home, and I do the homework with my kids. So just like it's my job as a parent and all of us to teach the kindness, which we do, we also need the school to do it. It needs to be, the same thing, right? That reciprocal, we're gonna help you with your reading at home, and then the school's also gonna do something with the social emotional piece. There's amazing programs out there that could be brought to Cuyahoga Heights. Please, invest the money in this. This is good. This will bring everything, this will make everything better. This will bring up your academic scores. This will bring up your test scores. This will have a positive impact. This will hopefully prevent these things from happening. This is not fair. This is not okay. When you walk through other schools, you get a sense of inclusiveness, okay? So I don't see that here. I'm sorry. I'm an educator. I've been in lots of different public school settings. At Cleveland, we have posters everywhere about acceptance, gay, lesbian, transgender, learning differences, autism. I mean, we cover our walls with this information. This is a safe space. It's outside my door as an educator. This is a safe space for you, okay? Where is that here? Where do these kids go? Where's their safe space? Maybe you need to also invest in developing your staff. It doesn't sound like they know how to work with these kids in some cases. Kids with differences, kids who are gay, kids who just don't fit that, whatever that mold is. I don't know what it is. But I'm seeing this happening now. My kids are not even at middle school level. I seriously considered other schools this year. I looked at charter schools. I looked at Cleveland Public Schools, some of their open enrollment schools. And Ms. Houchin knows this, and Ms. Houchin was very responsive to me, and she said, Gina, what are some programs? And we talked about some programs, but she, wasn't sure the budget was there. So I'm here to ask you, please put your money toward these programs. Research these programs. You have all summer, find something. And if you want to reach out to me for ideas, please email me. I can give you ideas. I can tell you what Cleveland's doing. I can tell you what other districts are doing.
What was the name of the program that you alluded to earlier?
The program is called PATHS.
PATHS.
PATHS. It is a program that is meant to be implemented by the general education staff.
What's the acronym stand for?
I'm not sure exactly. There's also WAVE, which is Winning Against Violent Environments. That's a peer mediation program. There's a Not on My Watch program, which is an anti-bullying program. I have a trainer who can come out and train WAVE, which is peer mediation. That would be $3,000. It's well worth it. It's money well spent. So I'm not gonna take up any more time other than to say that. And I am gonna keep my kids in the district because I have faith in you guys that you're going to take this seriously and invest the money in the social emotional part, because like I said, you've got the academic part down, and that's great. And, you know, this place can be amazing. It's a smaller district, and I think it's got great potential. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Christine or Hallie, I don't know. Hallie, okay.
My name is Holly Zach. I'm at 706 Tuxedo. I'm already getting emotional, and I apologize. I live right next to the Blashinskis, and I went and picked Brandon up one day, and I see what this family goes through, and my family went through it also. My son is currently homeschooled because I felt that I was talking to a brick wall. He was bullied from our first year here in first grade all the way through February 28th when I pulled him out of third grade. It's heartbreaking. My son did the same thing. I don't want to go to school, Mommy. I have a tummy ache. I have a headache. I don't feel well. Please don't make me go to school today. I'm telling him, like, if you're having these problems, you need to go to a doctor then, because this is getting out of control. Well, I just don't want to go to school, Mommy. I don't want them to say these things to me. He'd come home saying, they're calling me stupid because he is on an IEP. He's dyslexic, dyscalculic, and ADHD. He has 3 things working against him already that make his day really hard. He did have an IEP. Ms. Houchin is familiar with us. However, I would tell her, I would tell the teachers, they're calling him names in school. They nudge him up against the lockers because my kid's a peanut. If any of you have met him, he's tiny. He has the biggest heart in the world, and he wants to be friends with everybody. But he had such a problem making friends because people would just tear him down. And he would still reach out to these kids and try to be their friend because that's just who he is. He is the sweetest kid. And I mean, I get other people telling me this, it's not just my biased mom opinion. They would take his backpack and yank it back in the halls, trying to make him fall over. They did so many different things to him, and I kept alerting everybody. This needs to stop. Oh, well, we'll stand in the halls and watch out. Standing in the halls and watching out doesn't necessarily fix it, because if they see the teacher, they're smart, they're not gonna do it. But I asked them, you know, can we have an assembly, something to bring this to a head? And I don't know that that happened. Finally, the final straw for me was when my son came home after the Third Grade Rocks concert with a black eye. All underneath of his eye was black and blue, and I said, Scout, what happened? He's like, oh, I ran into a wall. He was so embarrassed to even tell me as his mom that a child punched him in the face on the playground and nobody saw it, supposedly. There was no paperwork filed. I was not notified. And after it happened, what really bothers me is that nobody asked him what happened in the school. Nobody said, how did you get a black eye? Or, hey, bud, what happened? Nothing. And that's a problem because educators are trained to look for these things, to make sure they have a safe environment at home as well. And if nobody asked him that day because it was a crazy day or whatever, he still went to school that following Monday because he wouldn't tell us what was wrong, and we hadn't known what had happened all weekend. I talked to him, my husband talked to him, his father talked to him, his grandparents, aunts and uncles were all just talking to him, trying to get him to say what happened. And he finally said what happened Monday after school, that somebody had punched him in the eye. Still Monday all day, nobody asked him how his eye got black and blue. Why is that? Why did nobody care about my child enough to even ask him what happened? He could have been playing baseball and hit in the eye. Okay, you know, whatever, I got a black eye playing ball. You know, that's fine, but at least somebody would have shown that they cared. Nobody showed him that. He was scared to go to school. He was assaulted on the bus, which yes, that the school can't do something, but if the school had a program like Gina discussed, maybe these things wouldn't have happened. I refuse to send my son back to Heights. I would rather pay tuition somewhere else. We bought our home here for the schools. We moved here from Independence, where we were renting, and we moved into Brooklyn Heights so we could have a great school district. And I now homeschool my son and my 4-year-old daughter, who I also refuse to send to this district because this is a huge problem. If you guys want more enrollment, you're not getting my kids unless you do something about it. And I know other parents have looked at other districts, they've looked at other options. I've been asked about homeschooling because other parents want to do it. This shouldn't be happening. I shouldn't live in this district that I moved to for the schools because my son doesn't feel safe going to school. He'll be in 6th grade next year. He wants to play sports for the school. Fine. Play sports for the school. As a homeschool student, we still have access to that. But he will not be educated here because of the bullying and violence issues. I told him before it could get any worse. I don't want there to be another case like Mentor or Valley Forge. And I also don't want there to be a Chardon case either, because nobody knows what a child may do as a reaction when they hit that limit. Cuyahoga Heights had the threat earlier this year from what I understand. And there was a child on social media threatening the schools. From my knowledge, that child is still in the school district after threatening to shoot other children. That's terrifying. Why is he still here? Do you really want your children going to a school where a child has threatened their life? Because I don't want my kid going there. And there may not have been an immediate threat right then and there, and there may not have been access to a weapon there, but that doesn't mean he can't get access to one in the future and carry out his actions when this cry for help was ignored. That's all I have to say, and I really hope that the district does something to make these kids feel safe and to make other kids feel less like they need to make those threats to be heard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Christine?
21 Mark Ryan, Brooklyn Heights. I came here to support the parents that I've just talked and to talk about my situation with bullying in the schools. My son just recently got diagnosed with autism, and he's been diagnosed with ADHD and a couple learning disabilities. So he doesn't understand the social cues that other kids have. He doesn't understand that if he gets into someone's face, kids will push him back. There you go. He's there.
You know he's back there.
Thank you. So more or less that I think there needs to be more education in the school systems, more education for the kids, more education for the teachers to understand all these issues. Because my son told someone, we're pulling him out for next year. He's not coming here next year. He's going to Julia Billiard School next year in Akron. My son went up to one of the kids to tell him about how he's going to this new school and how he's excited about going to this new school because all the kids are like him. It's a school for high-functioning autism. The child turned around and said, good, you won't annoy me anymore. And then I explained to him what is going on with Ronald, what is autism, how he thinks, and the kid's like, oh, I get it now. But these kids don't understand the differences between a disability or anyone that doesn't look different. So if someone has a physical disability, because there's some kids in the Heights that have a physical disability, that's fine. The kids get it. Those kids are fine. But when a child looks normal, they don't get it. I think starting in preschool, there needs to be an education with the kids and the parents talking about disabilities and how you could approach it appropriately or how you could talk to them. Because you have to talk to my son a different way. He's not, well, I want to say normal, not normal, but he doesn't understand how to talk to a child appropriately.
That is correct.
There you go. So that's my story. Other than that, I mean, it's been okay in the school system. We've had our issues since kindergarten, with the whole IEP issue.
Ronald,
But that could be discussed later, because we're probably running out of time.
Okay. I mean, feel free, I just wanna,
What, go ahead.
I just wanna thank, if you're not done, you can go, cause I was just gonna do like a blanket statement. I wanna thank all of you coming out. I know it's not easy. As a parent, my heart goes out to you. As I've said before, I'm an educator, I'm a school counselor. This is at my heart. This is at the root of what I do day in and day out. But I'm also a parent of 3 kids that went here and alumni, and I feel strongly about the education here, not only academic, but social emotional. So this isn't something that I'm just gonna dismiss because I want, the one parent that said it, I want our school to be known because we take care of social emotional issues as well as we do the academic piece. So, you know, again, we are a school board, we are a group of people that work very closely with our administration, and hearing that there are concerns, you know, again, thank you for your bravery and your courage to come up and talk about it openly like this and just share personal stuff. But I don't think this is the last conversation we'll be having, okay? And again, please feel free, if there are people that couldn't come here or just didn't want to or weren't comfortable, you know, please contact us. Our email, I think everything except for what we eat for breakfast is online, and, you know, there's any way you could come to my house. I mean, just any way to let us know what's going on, because we cannot do anything if we don't know about it. And that is like the first piece. If we don't know that it's happening, nothing will change. So you guys sharing these things, you know, I'm hoping that we will make improvements. Yeah. Go for it.
Sorry, I'll sign afterwards.
No, go for it. I'll sign you.
I'm Mindy Armbert, I'm at 333 Park Drive in Brooklyn Heights. And to start off with, for all parents and students who talked tonight, I have the deepest of sympathies for what everyone is going through. I have a 6th grader and a 3rd grader, and we're getting to a point now where with both of them, we haven't been having repeated issues. My 6th grader has ADHD and has been on medication since 2nd grade, and in the beginning years of school, he was that kid that nobody knew how to interact with him because he didn't know how to interact with them. And it took some time to get us where we needed to be, and then he slowly started to get where he needs to be. He, in elementary school and this year in 6th grade, has had issues with classmates. Some were minor, some were more severe. Around Christmas time, he was having a repeated issue with the same child, and I was very frustrated. I went to Mr. Burek a couple of times saying that it wasn't okay that he was not getting any support from the school. And at that point, I found out that he was. Mr. Burek and the gym teacher were both aware of what was going on. And when I talked to them and my child, I found out that there were steps being taken that I wasn't necessarily aware of, that were helping him to deal with it so that when things came up in the future, he could deal with similar type of situations, whether it was in school or out of school. And I wish there was never instances where they had to deal with that sort of thing, but it does happen, and in the end, it did help him a lot in that aspect. My 3rd grader is one of those kids that when adults talk to him, they say, "What grade is he in?" Because he talks like a 60-year-old man. It makes it very difficult for him sometimes to interact with kids his age. And there's times at the beginning of the school year, he had ongoing issues that he didn't understand how to interact with another student. And it was a problem from both ends, and I was very frustrated. I went to Mrs. Houchin. I had emailed Mr. Evans several times about it. I was at the point where I was gonna go to the police department if that was what I had to do, because I didn't think my child was being helped in the way that he needed to deal with the situation that was going on at the school. At that point, I started to realize more that there were things being done that I didn't necessarily know about. And as parents, sometimes I think we forget that it is a school district that has rules they have to follow, little more guidance of, you may not realize it, but we're doing things and I can't share it with you, but we are, doing something with it. In the end, the time that both of my boys have spent with staff, counselors, Mrs. Satterley, especially in the elementary school, I have no doubt that staff members here have the tools that they need to teach the children what to do. At the end of my third grader's issues that were going on, he came down and sat with me and had a conversation about interacting with people who were different than him that made my husband and I realize that we needed to take a step back on how we interacted with people. And my 9-year-old understood it better, and it was because he had lived it and was walked through it with the staff, whether I was there to see it or not. And as I said, I have the deepest sympathies for everything that is going on, so please don't think anything that I'm saying is discounting anything that was said. Obviously, more needs to be done, but I think sometimes it's important to remember that there are things happening that are positive in addition to the negative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Mindy, if I could ask, do you, the problems that you described, I don't want to go into detail about children, but that is specific children, but do you think, would you characterize the issues of the problems that you were summarizing as being, falling in the bullying realm, or a different type? And I kind of am just looking for a,
So I've never fully understood the term of bullying, what's considered bullying, what's not. At the end of the day, with my older son, I think that there was definitely some bullying that was occurring. With my younger son, it was two kids on very different ends of the spectrum who didn't know how to interact with one another. And it's something that I think even if we had tried to teach him beforehand until you experience it, there's no way to fully understand what's going on, if that makes sense.
Okay.
With my younger son, things were bad at times, there was no doubt. I was extremely upset. He was at the point where he wasn't comfortable coming to school, but once we talked to the school about it and he realized why it was going on, it made a big difference, and I don't think that situation was actually bullying at all. That was just kids not understanding each other, and that's something that, like I said, Mrs. Satterley worked with him very much and helped him understand that, and maybe that's something that could go further into working with all the students in it, but at the same time, I think it's hard because sometimes if you introduce it to everyone at once, they're not as receptive to what's going on, so I hope that clarifies it a little.
thank you, I appreciate it.
I would just say too, what bullying is there's 3 parts of it. One is, the bully has some sort of power, whether it's size, whether it's financial, whether it's academic, age, better athlete, some sort of advantage. There's repetition to it. And the other thing is, help me. So like it happens, well, that's repeated, right? Did I say that? Okay, it goes over a period of time, so it's not like one incident, thanks, guys. However, I think what we're hearing, whether it's bullying or not, I don't think we're here to classify it. If we have kids that are uncomfortable coming to school, that's the red flag. And as a school board, I don't wanna speak for everyone, but if we have children who are not comfortable being here for an extended period of time, that's concerning. We all are gonna deal with kids waking up or having bouts of anxiety or, whatever, academic scares, whatever, friendship squabbles. But if we're seeing this as a pattern, that's concerning. And so, again, I just wanna thank you all for coming out, and, we've got our work cut out for us as a district.
One more thing. I think those of you who were truly listening to us, and I could see it in some of your faces that you were truly listening, and you were truly understanding what we were saying. I appreciate those of you that did. I have to be honest with you, Lindy, when I was looking at some of their faces, I lost a little faith. I really did. Some of you, I truly 100% believe that you truly care, that you truly want to make a change. But when I looked at some of your faces, some of you dozing off at the table, I lost a little faith.
Okay, well, I hope things were heard, and I hope that, it takes three to make change. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. You guys,
I share,
No,
go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I'm gonna share your comments too. I mean, something has to be done, for sure. Our kids in school too.
Thank you for your
but,
courage.
you know, and I want to, again, keep, you know, our place is to support administration too, and they're the ones that have their hands in it, and we're here to like create policy and stuff around that. So, you know, I want it to be more of a partnership where we're, you know, hearing from their end and really working together as collaboratively on this. Okay? Okay, last comment, because just we need to get moving to her.
I'm asking, what's being done to secure the school district? Because I know you have to buzz to get in here. It's, you know, all the doors are locked. You can't get in once the school's in session unless you buzz. But, you know, I've seen that the buzzing thing, people just walk, they just buzz them in and walk them in. I know you see them on TV, but people, I've seen students open the door and people come in. Like, I've come here, didn't have to buzz in because the student was walking out and walked right in. It's alarming because we are in this day society where, you know, like the one parent said, what happened when his dad bring, you know, something back to school? Do we have a full-time officer here at the school? I'm not sure. I know
No, we do not. No, we do not. But I will say, we do have a safety committee, and you know, we can, I'm gonna let Mr. Evans maybe follow up with you on that. Is that okay?
We're boarding a lot of areas here.
Oh, yeah,
Legals
we're-
right there, I'm not
Cuyahoga
saying
Heights
that
hasn't
it's-
changed.
it's just,
We're
you know,
still in the same spot.
We're in an area where we're not in the best neighborhoods that surround us. Cuyahoga Heights is a great area, and I know the police go up and down 71 here in packs, you know, so, but as far as in the school, and I just wanna make sure, you know, we did have that threat earlier this year that went out, and I feel the threat was handled very well at the beginning, but as it went, that kid is here. I'm sorry, another school district, that kid would not be back in the school.
Absolutely not.
No?
I'm gonna tell you, absolutely not. Under the legal circumstances, Mr. Kilton, I'm sorry I haven't said a word. Under the legal circumstances, absolutely not. And I will tell you 100%, and I can't speak, but
Well,
It's-
okay, and so I'm gonna end this now, just because
Yes.
I have the authority to do that, and that's intimidating, but, I will just say, if you have complaints and stuff, talk to Mr. Evans, you know, email us, copy all of us, whatever, you know, until you feel like you're heard. There are lots of things as an educator that happen behind the scenes. Some of you guys alluded to that as parents. There's a lot of things, and there's a lot of steps, like Mindy said, that have to be taken. And, you know, I have confidence that our administration is, you know, gonna look at this and make changes that are appropriate and healthy and legal, you know, as we move forward. Okay, so thank you for coming out. We're gonna move on to the business part. Feel free to stay. It's always nice to have people that care about the treasurer's business. Right, Mr. Muccio? But thank you for coming,
Yeah,
those of you that
thank you.
came out. Okay. So, Mr. Muccio, I am on item number 5, treasurer's business. Wait a second, my computer just updated in a weird way. Can I please have a motion to approve, help me, because I'm out of sorts. Okay, Mr. Muccio,
Yeah.
giving it to you.
Thank you, President Schuker. A few motions tonight. I'll begin with motion 5A. Motion to approve the minutes of May 15th, 2019's regular meeting as found in attachment T1.
Thank you.
The next recommendation,
Using a special.
6A. Motion to accept the April 2019 bank reconciliation financial reports as prepared and certified by the treasurer is accurate as found in attachment T2. 6B. Motion to approve new vendors to the school district for W-9s attached as found in attachment T3. 6C. Motion to approve modification to the permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2019 as found in attachment T4. 6D. Motion to approve the May 2019 five-year forecast as prepared by the treasurer for fiscal year 2019 through fiscal year 2023, as reviewed with the Board Finance Committee on May 22nd, 2019, as found in attachment T5. 6E. Motion to authorize the treasurer to enter into an agreement with Brinks, adding weekly pickup and drop-off services of cash deposits as found in attachment T6. Service days will be Tuesday and Friday excluding holidays. The rate per month is $245 and the term is for 1 year. 6F, motion to authorize the treasurer to enter into an agreement with Huntington Bank, adding cash deposit and fulfillment to our treasury management services as found in attachment T7. This agreement is in conjunction with the Brinks agreement, attachment T6, as Brinks will pick up our weekly cash deposits and drop off at Huntington Bank Vault. The cost for the service will be $1.50 per deposit processed containing both currency and checks, 22 cents per check item deposited, and .0012 per dollar value for coin and currency deposited.
Okay, can I please have a motion for the treasurer's business?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Naaman,
Second?
seconded by Mr. Dobbins. Way to go, Mr. Dobbins. Any discussion?
Yes. We have 2 sheets in front of everybody. It's going to be our 5-year forecast and our lead sheet. And I'm jumping down from 6A to 6B. I'm going to go to the 5-year forecast first, so 6D. And I'm going to kind of make that transition with 6A, our financial reports. If we're looking at our 5-year forecast that we have in front of us in our lead sheet, all the numbers in column N that we have on the lead sheet, so I'll kind of go down. So row 2 is the start of it for revenues, which is our general property taxes. In the total column column N, $9,082,553. That goes over to column P in black with the white highlight text that we have. Again, that's the $9,082,553. That's the number that gets put into our 5-year forecast that we have. So if we look down, column N and column P, they're the same. So all the numbers that we have in fiscal year 19 for our 5-year forecast, it's in the black column P with the white text, and that's coming from our total column N. So we've been telling a story essentially all year of our finances. Revenues, top portion, expenses, bottom portion. So we've seen the interactions per month that we've had for revenues and for expenses. The detail is within 6A. It's going to be all the long sheets that we have. We have quite a bit of those. But that tells the story of essentially what's been coming in revenue-wise, expense-wise, every dollar going out. We've seen, the review of that. We can get into more detail on a lot of those numbers if we want, but for the sake of just kind of comparing, looking at the forecast, I wanted to give kind of a more broad view for everybody here. We did go into the 5-year forecast in great detail on the 22nd for the Finance Committee meeting. We spent about an hour and a half going through a lot of good questions and just discussion over the 5-year forecast. All of our numbers this year indicate that we're having a favorable year. We can see our starting number in B1 in the blue, 12.3 million. Our ending number, N31, $13,056,048. Now that translates to the forecast for row 7.020 in fiscal year 19, $13,056,050, off by $2 for rounding. So that's our ending figure that we're anticipating from our lead sheet, which matches to the 5-year forecast, where we're going to end fiscal year 19. Now we can see going forward in fiscal 20, 21, 22, and 23 on line 6.010, we're starting to deficit spend. So we've crossed our break-even point, essentially. So we've had a surplus this year of about $700,000, and these are best guess estimates that we have going forward. But fiscal 20 is really going to start potentially our deficit spending. This is a guess, $982,000 for next year. But, potentially there's going to be material changes that we have as we go through the ins and outs of next year as it comes. But as of this point in time in May 2019, from the onset, it looks, yes, that we're, getting to the peak and we're going to start going down the valley in spending that we have. It's not necessarily a bad thing. When we reviewed the October 2018 5-year forecast, we also looked at other school district forecasts, if we remember back. And we saw Independence, Parma, East Cleveland, and Hudson And those forecasts also had negatives in that line, 6.010. I could probably go out and poll, the majority of the 600-some school districts in Ohio, and I'd say 80% maybe of the forecast will show some sort of negative number, couple negative numbers in that row, maybe even higher. So it's not uncommon, it's actually more common. Schools are nonprofits, so we're not operating as a for-profit entity that wants to make a surplus every year. We essentially want to balance our, get as close as possible. In certain years, other years, we're going to expend more than what we bring in, but we want to stay kind of, in a reasonable area as a nonprofit going forward. I would say our forecast, looking at it, all projected years is favorable. We do know that with the loss of TPP, the phase-out, which is about 200,000 per year, that's gonna go all the way down, and it's gonna be a number of years until it's fully taken away from us completely. But, the need for a new levy is gonna be out there. It's not right around the corner at this point, but it is coming up in the not-so-near future, I would say, a couple of years from now.
To add to that too, though, money isn't collected right away when you have a levy, correct? There is a little.
Yes, there's a lag.
Lag time.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but again, our forecast is favorable. The philosophy I try to, have out with the administrative team and everybody else, stakeholders of the district, is tackle the wants and then, tackle the needs, and then we take our wants and we prioritize those wants reasonably and we address those. So we want to address all of our needs within our budget. So this budget, the goal, the philosophy would be that we're addressing our needs, and then we take a look at our wants, we prioritize those wants reasonably, and we address those wants as we go.
So, Mr. Muccio, I'm
yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, I apologize.
Please, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that the November forecast or the October forecast, when that's prepared, although we're months away, that'll reflect the next biennial budget
Yes.
effect, or at least as best as we can, it'll reflect that. I understand right now there's some uncertainty.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's 100% correct.
Thanks.
Just looking at a couple lines that we have, line 1.010, general property taxes. Again, the notes are gonna show, and we don't have the notes here. There's gonna be a lot more, and for people listening, online, the notes are really gonna break down, the future years, fiscal 20, fiscal 21, 22, and 23. The methodology, the thought to why that figure would decrease, and actually what goes into that number, is in the notes, as well as every other number that we have in the forecast. So if anybody's curious on, what makes up that 9 million that we're looking at in fiscal 19, or fiscal 20, or fiscal 21 that we have on the forecast, the notes will show representation of all the numbers that show support behind this overall figure that we have in the 5-year forecast that we have going forward. But again, fiscal 19 is a favorable year, surplus. Fiscal 20 is the projected deficit spending year going forward that we have. There are no questions. I'll move on to a couple other things that we have. If we go to 6A, which is gonna be our financial reports, if everybody would be able to click on T2C.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Which one?
T2C.
T2C, like Charlie.
T2C, got it.
What's two?
Oh, I just got to edit something.
So 6A, and we're looking for content, which would be T2C, which is our budget versus actuals for fiscal 19.
Where am I?
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
think you're in the wrong spot.
It's going over to 6A.
Tom, can you see that? It's real small.
When you tell us what column, I'll blow it
Click on
on.
that, and then there'll be a series of.
Yeah, and then go down here, it's T2C.
Sorry, I'm with you now, sorry.
Um,
As long as it, okay.
So this is in Excel. I think it's easier as a format for everybody to look at, our budget versus actual. So this is typically the giant sheet that we have printed off, but now it's in Excel. I think it's a little more easier to kind of look at and go through. I just wanted to bring attention to our appropriation modification that we have for tonight. If everybody's able to go to Z, column Z that we have. So there's letters above every column that we have, A, B, C, D, and so forth. So if everybody goes to column Z, that's gonna be our modification to our appropriations tonight, and we have two highlights there.
My column Z is a fraction.
Yeah.
There's nothing in
It's a-
column Z.
It's a spacer, basically.
Expand it,
How?
just like you're down.
Do you want to look off someone else's?
You can look at it here if you want.
Okay.
I'll take a look at that after. But for our two modifications to our permanent appropriations tonight.
Yeah, I have the same problem you do.
We can take a look
Okay,
at
that is
it.
Man,
completely different.
are we M, or no, you said C?
Z. Oh, wait, now
Z
I'm
like
trying to get it
zebra.
open.
Z like zebra.
I
Okay.
get
Oh,
this
how did I
open, then
get
it
mine
closes
right?
that way.
Sorry. Gotcha. Column C,
I've got
or
this
Z.
edits will automatically be saved up on top, which is
Yeah, but then I
different.
will be able
Mine
to
is
see.
definitely different from yours. It's simply not the same. And I don't know
I have
why.
nothing in Z.
Oh, you know what?
I have nothing in Z.
There's,
I don't know if
No.
it's also like, let's assume it's frozen, so you have to.
The first couple are frozen, the
Yeah.
first frame,
Then
the
you
H
have
to
to
D.
lower it
Yeah,
from here.
right, and then you
There
have to
was
scroll
nothing in
over.
Z
Scroll up.
that I could
yeah,
see.
but I'm scrolling.
I
I'm not
think it's
getting
still
there.
that way.
I don't
So you can just
understand.
arrow over.
You want
It's a
to
Z,
scroll
right?
the other way, no? To your right?
Well, I'm all the way to the left. Now when I go to the right,
Correct.
And it's-
And there should be column
there's Z, and it's just not the same.
And AA and BB.
Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. Gary's looking at the same thing I was. Apologies, I'm sorry. I couldn't see anything in Z.
Yes.
One, open a Google Doc.
Okay.
So,
It wasn't open in Google Doc.
yeah, so let's just scroll over.
Oops.
Z.
So how did
I
that?
just refreshed the page, just so it reloaded the whole thing.
Yeah, but why wouldn't it have opened in Google Docs? I mean, I clicked on the same place spot. Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, I didn't have any.
Happens.
Yeah, no,
Now I do.
It was open, yeah. So the two items that we have for the modification to our permanent appropriations, we're adding $100 to Fund 19, and that's for an increase to the elementary school. There was a grant awarded to Wendy, Joy's not here, Wendy
Chihaki.
Chihaki, yep. So
Not to
she
be
got
confused with.
she got a $100 grant for Treasures giveaway grant. So we're increasing appropriations to spend the $100 grant, as well as Fund 551 Limited English Proficiency. We're increasing $325. That's a grant from the ESC of Northeast Ohio for that. So we're modifying our appropriations for those two reasons, $100 for the elementary school and $325 for the ESC grant that we have. So we can
Okay.
close out of here. The agreement with Brinks, which is 6E, that's an agreement for cash pickup services. It's $245 per month, twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. We're looking at pickup services by Brinks Security. What they're gonna do is they're gonna come to the treasurer's office, pick up the cash. It's all gonna be recorded with procedures and controls. They're gonna take that cash, load it in their truck, drive their truck down to what's called the vault. In that vault would be Huntington Bank employees, and then Brinks would give the cash bags, the cash deposits to the Huntington Bank people that work in the vault. They would count the cash, deposit to our school bank account every 2 days a week. That service was with Maple Heights when I was there too, Maple Heights Schools. And that's,
It's $245 for the whole month?
yes,
And they'll do it twice a month?
twice a week,
Twice a week?
yes. Yep.
How does it happen currently? Do we have services to do that as well?
No.
We're doing it on our own.
Yeah, we
Oh, that's
we
good
have
then. That's
internal
a lot.
employee.
That's great.
You feel more confident doing it this way?
Yes, I think it's more secure.
It is,
Mhm.
for sure.
Also takes a big chunk of liability off of an individual
Yeah.
employee.
Absolutely.
And time.
Yeah.
And there should be
Away,
some
you know,
offsetting,
What you could do.
This is
yeah,
well
a little
worth it.
offsetting
It's
savings
well
on the
worth it.
travel.
And keep in mind too that we could have a deposit as large as $5,000 or $10,000 for fundraisers. If we have a lot of fundraisers that occur at the same week, same time, that deposit bag that's given currently to the employee who's taking it to the bank is just taking it, you know, in their car to the bank, and there's a lot of liability, there's a lot of risk, there's security with that too. You know, there's risk, you know, risk of theft, there's risk of something happens, gets lost, you know, with this added security feature, this control, you know, kind of mitigates the risk, lessens it, adds more controls and more established procedures that we have.
It's well worth it, well worth it.
It's a reasonable cost.
And you would obviously follow up then with these deposits to make sure
Oh, yeah.
that the accurate amount was deposited.
Oh, yeah. I spent, when I was at Maple Heights, 2.5 years doing that, so I'm well, I have the necessary experience to teach the staff in the treasurer's office to account for it, so we'll make sure that every dollar, every penny gets there, so. If there are no questions, that completes all my recommendations.
Okay. Anything else discussion-wise for treasurer? Okay, hearing none. Roll call.
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Souchaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Schuker.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to treasurer's comments.
I just have one comment for tonight. This Friday at 8 AM, we have a demo at Neonet for eFinance Plus and the state software redesign. So we reached out to Neonet, and they were willing to put on a presentation for both eFinance Plus, which I went to a meeting a couple of weeks, maybe a couple months ago at this point, to look at the ins and outs of that software. The state software redesign have not really had a solid presentation yet, so Neonet is gonna present both of those softwares to myself, Mr. Evans, Dr. Caleres, Mr. Wallace, Felix and Kathy in the treasurer's office, so, we have room for any more?
I'd love to
The
be
time-
there, actually.
Yeah, so it's,
And when is this time? Maybe I could be there.
It's this Wednesday at 8 AM.
This Friday.
This Friday, excuse me, this Friday at
Friday.
8 AM at Neonet.
8 AM in the
At
morning, or
Neonet.
8 AM,
At
8 AM.
No,
Which is a
it's,
45-minute drive from here.
So is the process, like, if
I
you
won't be
find that you like it, then you would
Yeah.
probably maybe have them present to the board or
Right, I
share
mean,
information?
yeah, I mean,
Keep the
it's a
handles
big
out.
decision, because this is our overall financial accounting software that deals with everything. We're gonna EMIS, this is our financial records, this is, you know, the whole,
Been there and trying to
reporting to
remember
the
where it
state for, you know, our students that we have. So a lot is gonna go into, decision, it's gonna be, you know, consensus, you know, it's gonna be what everybody feels comfortable with. There aren't too many out there to pick and choose from, so, you know, it's, there's only a couple options that we have. I'm looking forward to it. I know it's gonna be a great, you know, couple hours that we have there, and, you know, we have all the necessary required people to be there, so, should be interesting.
One question, do they have, actually, they probably maybe don't, I don't know, is the application, do they have a demo of it? I mean, can we load it on a server and just play with it?
I'm not sure how they're structuring Friday, but if they do have an available demo, yeah, I mean, I'll ask them about that to see if we
Maybe
can
just-
kind of take a look at it and
Because
go
then we'd
in
be able to
and.
play
yeah.
with it on our own time then too as well. And
Right.
then, I mean, I'm gonna check my schedule, I'll get back to you. I'd love to be there,
Right.
actually.
Yeah, I do know that they can make a sample, a test version of Reflections. So if
Okay.
somebody's interested to see the current software that we use, we can
Mhm.
take our data, make a just copy, and then, you know, it's there just as a copy,
Okay.
because it's, you know, just essentially a flash drive given to somebody, so.
Yeah.
But with the two new types that they have, which would be eFinance Plus and State Software Redesign, I'm not sure yet, but once I find out, I'll let you know.
That'd be great. So
Yeah.
I'd love to be
I'll
there.
report back
I
to
don't
the
know
board.
if they will, I mean, if they, I don't know, do they offer Skype? Can they Skype?
They do,
Like,
I do
just
not
call
know
it
if,
a demo if possible?
yeah, we could always have another demo, because again, this
Okay.
is just our first,
Okay, you know,
our first, you know, experience looking at both of these. You know,
Interesting.
so whenever we choose one software, you know, there's gonna be more of a grand presentation for the board to let, you know, before we go with it, so.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah,
So there'll be more time for a lot of those too.
I think there'll probably be some, taking a look at it, if anybody else is using that too, to try and fully vet it, to talk to some other districts
Makes
that
sense.
that are, and then maybe a little site visit to see how and what they're doing and what,
Sounds good.
what's good about it, what's bad about it, because somebody's traveled down that road before us, that will help us
Yeah, that
in the
sounds really good.
decision-making process.
That's a good
Yeah, so
idea.
it's early stages, so.
And, also Barberton Schools is gonna participate with us on Friday, so
Okay.
it's gonna be 2 schools.
Perfect.
That's all I have tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Muccio. Moving on to Mr. Evans with Superintendent's Business.
Superintendent's business, 9A. Motion to adopt the 2019-20 student handbooks for Cuyahoga Heights Elementary, Middle School, High School as recommended. 9B. Motion to approve the 2019-20 student fees list as recommended per the attached list. Jump down to 13. Employment supplemental positions. A. Motion to approve the listed individuals on supplemental contracts in the stipulated positions for 2019-20 school year per the adopted wage schedule contingent upon successful completion of BCI, FBI fingerprint checks and proper certification if applicable. B, approve employment athletic fall supplemental contracts. Motion to approve the listed individuals on supplemental contracts in the stipulated positions for 2019-20 school year per the adopted wage schedule contingent upon successful completion of BCI, FBI fingerprint checks and proper certifications if applicable. C, approve employment for extended contract. Motion to approve up to 10 days of extended time for Ryan Kelber, athletic director, at his daily rate of pay to be taken during the summer of 2019. And 15, agreements. 15A. Come on. Motion to approve agreement with the Ohio Department of Education, Office of Child Nutrition for participation in Ohio USDA Child Nutrition Program for 2019-20 school year at no cost to the board. Approval, 15B. Motion to approve SORSA renewal agreement with CF Risk and Insurance LLC effective July 1st, 2019 to July 1st, 2020 for liability insurance at a cost of $64,089. C, motion to approve the membership in the Alliance for High Quality Education for 2019-20. 15D, motion to approve the agreement for roofing services with Weatherproofing Technologies, Tremco Incorporated. E, motion to approve the service agreement with Pest Management Incorporated for 2019-20. F, motion to approve the maintenance agreement with HDC Automation for 2019-20.
Okay, hearing Superintendent's Business, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Naaman,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Suchaki. Discussion.
If you take a look at the supplementals, there's still some openings there. Sometimes teachers take stuff late, sometimes we fill in. Not all the fall supplementals are filled right now, but we want to get this first list approved. Some of those will have camp and things during the summer, so, and as you know, in the past, we don't want to approve them and make changes. I think, football's, Coach Martin, they always they do 7/8, and they kind of split some things up, so he wanted to make sure that he had his correct. As far as the extended time for Ryan, the two things for Ryan, technically, all of fall sports would start his first day back from work. That doesn't work for him. So he's gonna need a couple days to get ready for that. Then that's just the way that the OHSA rolled out to start this year. And then additionally, we've had the ongoing project of getting record boards completed. And Ryan inherits 3 previous athletic directors' work to try and get our record boards back up and on the walls here. As every time he sees Mr. Gross reminds me and reminds him that the track records are not on the wall. So,
Can I make a request that too, that they put slow pitch records on there?
if we have the records, we'll put them up.
They took them off.
Uh-oh.
I'm just kidding. I really
Okay.
don't care.
And
It'll just
then-
help me at home, Mr. Evans.
The agreements, again, no cost on the child nutrition program. Sources, the renewal. Mr. Muccio and I met with the
with Sorsa on our liability insurance, and actually, we picked up several new riders on the insurance without any additional cost to the district. There's some things that Sorsa is able to expand to us, so that was, I thought, a positive meeting. The membership to approve the Alliance for High-Quality Education, I just think that this group is, we are right in line with what this group is advocating for. If you, I know I shot that email off today, I just got that from Tony Potager, what they testified for, as I told one of the board members previously, we couldn't have written it much more succinctly than what they are asking for. I mean, we are right in line with what the other members of that organization are, and I believe that they're having an impact with legislators. So they've aligned themselves with Excel, which can, as far as the state report cards are concerned, so I think that's been a big benefit to us. Roofing services with Tremco, I forwarded that information to you. Mr. Muccio and I had the representative from the national bid group, and going to send us some more details, but that falls in line with the national bid contract on that. That's why that's a contract price there. Pest Management Incorporated, we're always looking to get better with our pest management maintenance agreement with HDC Automation. You know, that's a one-year contract. I think that's one of the first things that our capital improvement group will be looking at. We know that our automation system is outdated, it's obsolete, it's anything that any other adjective that you can throw at it as far as needing upgraded badly, it certainly needs to happen with that. So that'll be one of the first things that we look at. So I would ask for the approval of those items.
Any other discussion items?
In regards to the roof estimate, is that, I know we've been doing this on yearly basis, doing a little bit more, doing a little bit more. Where does that stand in terms of expenses? Is that about what we've been spending?
Well, it's varied because of, depending on what had to be done. If you remember last year, we had the possibility of a terraform replacement on the shingle part here of the old building. That's obviously more expensive. When we get into the rolled roofing areas, they tend to be a little less expensive. So the rotation is by section, and actually this is spot on from what Joe Slattery gave us as an estimate 5 years ago. I look back at what Tremco gave us 5 years ago as projected work 5 years out, and this is the exact dollar amount. This is the exact same work that Joe told us that we had on the schedule 5 years ago, and at the exact same price. And I'll forward those because he updates that with us every year. The problem's going to be Joe Slattery has been with this district for 35 years. He was the guy that originally did I've got you, if you've seen the notebooks in my office, the original roofing proposals and what have you, and we've been with this group for that long. Joe's getting close to retirement, so our capital improvement project couldn't come at a better time, because I'll certainly make the architects aware that, you know, I told them we're very confident what's been done and the work that's been done and the quality work that's been done, but we would want to make sure that as we move forward, that we want to continue the same type of service to the roof, and whether that's Tremco, and I think Tremco will certainly try to put somebody in place to work with Joe for a year or two before he retires to make sure they can carry on, or another company that, whatever it might be, to make sure that we know we got to take care of the roofs and the walls before we can take care of anything inside, so.
It's just such a big expense, I just want to make sure it's in line with what we've been doing.
It's.
Without a roof, we're kind of in trouble.
Yeah, I know. And the liability insurance, you're confident with that? It's a good quote?
Yeah, very much so. As a matter of fact, I was quite impressed that there was probably 4 or 5 additional coverages for us that have been made available to us at no additional cost. Some of them have to do with computer security and some different items there that have recently come to the company that they're able to offer to us without actually raising the price of what that liability insurance is for us. So I thought I was pretty, I don't know how you felt, man, I was pretty happy with that. Meeting with him, he's attentive to who we are and what we do, and you know, I mean, we meet with him maybe 2, 3 times a year. He'll come out, take a look at some things to see what needs adjusted, and as we start on a capital improvement plan, I'm sure there's some things that we'll need to take a look at and determine how and what we might want to cover in the future, but I feel confident that we have a good liability package in place right now for the district.
Just 2 big expenses that we're looking at here, but necessary, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
And also wanted to point out, our expense is in line with prior year, fiscal 18, prior year. Actually, past couple of years for the quote with Sorsa. And interesting, we had a couple high-ticket items for insurance claims. So when the roof got damaged over the pool, I believe
Yeah.
that was about $21,000 as an expense.
Yeah.
We had a car issue that was a couple thousand, as well as we had a garage door that got hit by the bus. So we've had a couple significant insurance claims. The 20,000 is the largest one.
Yeah.
And the price did not increase significantly at all. So it stayed in line with the past couple of years that we've had, so fiscal 18.
Well, that's good to know.
Well,
Yes, it is.
Thanks for sharing that information.
Okay, at this time, we can have a roll call.
Mr. Naaman.
Hi.
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Mr. Schukert.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Mr. Evans, you're up with comments.
I'm going to start by, addressing the presentations this evening, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to end this the same way. There is no magic program that solves all the social emotional issues that take place in the school district. There isn't any one program, there isn't any one person. It's a group effort, it's a team effort. We're aware, and the things that we have in place right now, you heard a lot of acronyms for different programs. And you've heard PBIS from us, Positive Behavior Intervention Systems, which is something that we work with. And understand that we are looking constantly for programming and things that we can do. I would tell you that Mrs. Houchin came to me last week with a program, said it was a little bit pricey. I said, schedule it. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I met with Mr. Burek and Mr. Coleman and said, we are going to inundate the staff and students at the start of the next school year with programming on different levels, some shock and awe things, some we're going to give you hug things, some every type of program that we can kind of put in front of our staff and our people to make people aware, to try and present things, as well as the ongoing things. And then we also deal with this in a one-on-one, individual, ongoing basis. I think you heard that a little bit. We were one of the first districts in Northeast Ohio to bring on a social worker, and thanks to the board 3 years ago, you allowed me to bring on a social worker. I would tell you that the one-on-one that social worker does with our teachers, with our students, and the small group work, I believe has paid benefits for us. You also heard about some of the work of the administrators. I know that our counselors in the middle school go in every class and deal with it in a small group setting, because sometimes presenting to 60 kids, presenting to a group of 25 is a lot easier than 60, and you get some more interaction, that it's ongoing. And I will tell you that between the counselors and our social worker, they give up probably 2 lunch periods a week to work with kids. That an issue comes in, and that's their time that they don't turn kids away, and we're dealing with it. And Mr. Burek, as you heard, is aware, and we're working on it one by one on the big group, but we're always looking for more. Again, there is, and I'm going to finish off by saying there isn't a magic pill, there isn't a magic wand, because I certainly sympathize with the parents that you heard speak today. We certainly have not discounted anybody's concerns. We've addressed things where we can address things. Some of the frustration for us is that we can't, and I know it's a huge frustration for parents, is that we can't tell them what type of discipline takes place with other students. We can't talk to students about their student's disability. That's wholeheartedly against the law, that I can't stand up and say, little Johnny has a disability, you folks need to be aware of that and treat him differently. That's you folks will be spending $1 million defending me in court if that's the case, if I choose to go down that road. And I know that doesn't make the parents happy, but rest assured that nobody is discounting anything that was said tonight. Nobody is discounting any emails or any phone calls. And when Lindy said, we're gonna come back around and let them speak, I said, absolutely, absolutely. I'm not trying to hide this, I'm not trying to push this under the rug. I certainly, with a couple of parents, have a different view of what our conversations were, but they have the right to disagree with me. We're still gonna move forward and do the best we can for each and every kid. And I think you heard it's helped with some kids, and others it hasn't helped, and some it hasn't been the answer. But it's not for a lack of effort by this administration, this teaching staff, this counseling staff, and again, we're constantly looking, we're constantly keeping our ears open. Again, just in the last month, my administrators have found some programming that we're gonna implement as quickly as we can at the start of the next school year.
to try and get some things going. But again, one program's not gonna cure this. I'm gonna tell you that right here and now, and that there isn't any magic pill out there that stops bullying in schools. We have to address it on an individual basis. We have to address it with each kid, and we have to try and make each kid accountable for their own actions as we move through this. And sometimes, that's a little bit tougher for elementary kids and middle school kids to recognize that their actions are hurtful and harmful to other kids. I think as we see when we get into the high school, it starts to separate itself out a little bit, and they become a little bit more socially aware, but some of it is I mean, the mom with autistic student today, I mean, I'm in 100% agreement with what she said, that her student would say things, and I will tell you that we've had some kids with some severe disabilities that have gone through and we've had some remarkable responses by our students to our kids rallying around those kids and getting those, and protecting those kids. That's not 100% of the time, but you know, we're gonna work on it every day, and we're gonna get better. We're gonna be better tomorrow than we were today, and we're gonna be better next week than we were this week. That's my commitment to this board and to those parents. So I didn't wanna open it up for debate with the parents. That I don't believe that would have solved anything at this point in time, but know that I've never not returned a phone call to a parent. I've never not returned an email. Some of the times, I think my response is not what they wanted to hear, but I have to take the entire district into consideration when I make my responses too. So, some other
Thank you for sharing that
Yeah,
with
thank
us.
you for those
Could
comments.
you, maybe as a future agenda item, update the board, say in the fall, when these programs get rolled out, and just kind of let us
absolutely,
know,
because it's
we're
clear.
talking
They have to pay for
prospectively
it.
now.
No, it's absolutely, because it's clear to me that that's where I've fallen short at. We've fallen short with the recognition. We have parents sit here that I think if they knew of what we had in place, that they would knew where to go to look for some help. If they knew that we had a social worker that was working with kids, the phone call might be to the social worker, and that phone call can cut out an administrator and a teacher to get right maybe to the root of the problem and to work on things a little bit more quickly. So we have to do a better job of promoting what we're doing with our kids, promoting that, what's available to our parents, and promoting it to our students without singling our students out. The difficulty when you do the presentation to the students is that no student wants to raise his hand and say, that's me. Because that sometimes exacerbates the issue. So we've got to get creative with that, but clearly we need more communication with what we're doing, and we need to do a better job of it. We need to find better interventions, so.
I want to say too, and I know we've talked about it, but there's a parent education piece to this too. You know, it's not just the school, and that one parent said it very well, like one third. And I know, Mr. Evans, we've talked about like parent programs and stuff like that, and the problem that we've seen is no one shows up for them. So maybe, again, you know, I do not want to micromanage, but maybe, you know, a newsletter or stuff on the website, there's other ways to maybe reach parents that maybe we haven't thought of that could be
Well,
considered.
I would tell you absolutely that the program that Mrs. Houchin brought before me, it will involve programs during the day and then a program that evening. I will tell you to the extent that I wanted to go to expose parents to this, when we do our sixth grade orientation, to actually, because all the parents come to that, I've got a captive audience to bring somebody in so they can't walk out of the room to say, this is an issue, whether you believe it is or not, and address it right there. I think that will draw the angst from some people, but everybody will hear it at the time, and it's, maybe that's us being a little bit forceful in our approach to it, not given, but we have discussed that we have the captive audience, maybe for another reason, like an orientation program, to utilize that time where we have the parents in the room to say, you need to be aware that these are the things that are happening out there. These are the things that we can do to make things better. These are the things that we're gonna do as a district to try and make sure that all kids are safe, that all kids, that nobody's at home telling a parent, I don't wanna go to school today. Because the way I'm being treated by my peers, the way I'm being treated at the school.
And then they'll make it more transparent too,
So.
to do it that way.
I think those are great ideas, really good ideas.
Just a couple other items. Jim's Whistler's contract will come before the board. I gave you a summary of Jim's expenses since he's been here, since we've used him as a facilitator. Know that the village council visits by Best will take place starting next week. I know Brooklyn Heights and Valley View are both on the 4th, and for some reason I don't have the Cuyahoga Heights on my schedule. We're also going to recognize their service organizations. The board did nominate those service organizations from the villages
through OSBA, and I have those certificates, and I will present those at the local village council meetings when I go out to those meetings. The art, okay.
Cuyahoga Heights is the same night that we are, I think.
So they're all three are the same night?
Yeah.
No, no, no.
No, 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 it's
Oh, the
during
same
our
night our board meeting is?
They're our board meeting night is
Okay.
when they're doing
That-
Cuyahoga Heights, and I
okay.
think it's before, I think
It
6
is.
o'clock is what I have. on
Okay,
this
I
calendar.
think you're correct. For whatever reason, it was on my calendar, now it's not. The architects are gonna tour the facilities as soon as school's dismissed for the summer. That'll be kind of a combined tour. I'm gonna spend some time with them. I'm gonna have Neil spend some time with them. But we're gonna do a soup to nuts kind of walk through the building. I'm
In
currently,
case- I'm sorry to interrupt. In case I could make it, would you
yeah,
let us know?
I'll make you aware.
Okay.
I'll shoot it out to the board when I have a time scheduled. We're also gonna be, gonna work on summer work projects with maintenance, just because got the capital improvement project underway. There's still other things that we're gonna do. We're gonna look to repair some broken and damaged sidewalks around the district. We're gonna try to get rid of Lake Caleres out here that forms in the broken. Ted's closest, so he got called. Where the sidewalks kind of caved in, every time it rains, everybody has to walk through the grass to walk in front of the building. Yeah, there's also some spots in front of the elementary building that are cracked and are now starting to heave a little bit with freezing thawing, so we're gonna try and take care of some of those things. Dr. Claris has done a phenomenal job of taking care of furniture throughout the district. We're gonna continue to do that. The fitness center will be closed this summer. The fitness center will be renovated this summer. We'll be moving equipment out of there very shortly. The old nasty carpeting will be taken out of there, and we'll get going on, our plan is to have the fitness center up and running when we get back to school in the fall with new flooring, some TVs, and some new equipment in the fitness center. No July meeting. Please let me know if there's items that we need to address in June before we let out. And other than that,
We're gonna be adding a special meeting, but we're gonna try to figure that out.
Okay.
I had added that to discussion, so.
And that graduation went well, as I promised the seniors. Everybody tells you the two things are certain in life, death, taxes. I said the third thing is that it will be swampy at graduation at Cuyahoga Heights, and it lived up to. Of course, I told people by normal standards, this year was frigid compared to other years that we've sat on there and somewhat melted. But a great job, Mr. Coleman's first time out of the box, and I know the nerves that you go through when it's your first time around a graduation. And yes, my mother really did say that to me before I walked into the gymnasium that year. Paige was graduating. I think most of you know who Paige was, and that was as my mom was walking in the gym. She said, "Just remember, no one came here to hear you speak tonight." Thanks, Mom. She gave me a hug and a kiss and sent me on my way.
And I used that same thing.
Well, and it worked. I understand.
For Memorial Day.
We've got fifth grade and eighth grade promotion coming this Friday. Finals are underway. Just a lot going. 2 outstanding STEM days. Thank Mrs. Curry. We had Independence over last week. We had Orange over, or 2 weeks ago, Orange over at the end of the week this week, the beginning of this week. Orange schools were here to do the rocket launching and all kinds of, just a ton of great activity going on by our kids and hands-on learning and good things happening, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on, we don't have any professional conferences, correct? Okay, so we're gonna move on to the board policy adoptions. I go through all of the, I'm questioning this, so I go through all the policies, I always forget at this point. I go through all the policies, right, or do I don't do a motion?
It's a motion to approve the policies as presented,
Okay.
with the exception of the F, or the
Right,
anti-nepotism.
the
Well, yeah,
nepotism.
so everything in 19 would be, so you read a motion to approve policy 0100
Okay.
definitions, yeah.
And then, okay, got it. Can I have a motion to adopt the policy 0100 definitions as reviewed on May 15th, 2019?
Go through all of them.
Okay.
Those are still on the consent agenda.
Got you. Motion to adopt policy 5517.02, sexual violence, is reviewed on May 15th, 2019. Motion to adopt policy 1662, anti-harassment administration, as reviewed on May 15th, 2019. Motion to adopt policy 4362, anti-harassment classified staff, as reviewed on May 15th, 2019. Motion to adopt policy 3362, anti-harassment professional staff, is reviewed on May 15th, 2019. And motion to adopt policy 5517, anti-harassment of students, as reviewed on May 15th, 2019. Can I have a motion for those?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Suchaki,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Eder. Any discussion? I know Mr. Evans has just said those anti-harassment ones are the same, they just change with the staff.
Classification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so hearing no discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Suchaki?
Aye.
Mrs. Eder?
Aye.
Mr. Naaman?
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins?
Aye.
Mr. Schuker?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to the item that was taken off, it's the anti-nepotism policy. So let's start it off with, can I have a motion to rescind? Well, how do I do that? 'Cause
Just
I-
right, just the way it's worded.
Okay, motion to rescind policy 8100, anti-nepotism.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Suchaki,
Second?
seconded by Mr. Dobbins. Discussion.
That's why, that's what we were working our way toward.
Right.
When this came up for discussion earlier, I tried to fill people in on the background on why this policy existed. And as I've given it some thought and had some discussion with fellow board members and our council as well, we want to make sure we hire the best people, right? And it doesn't matter, in my opinion, if they are related to other staff members or board members or so on. We want to make sure we hire the right people, okay? So I think that policy has some things that we ought to really seriously consider changing, right? But at the same time, I don't want to just throw it out, right? What I'd like to recommend that we seriously consider is not rescind, but rather, what's the right term? Replace.
Modify?
Modify, revise.
Repeal and replace.
Yeah, repeal and replace was the phrase I was going to, right? But have the replacement in hand before we go and repeal. Or look at it a different way, just modify the policy, give it some thought. And the biggest thing I would want to see taken out of it, frankly, is that insistence that board members' immediate relatives cannot be brought into the district. We're a small district, we're tight-knit families, good people have other good people related to them. If they belong here, I would like to see them here, even if they happen to be a relative of a board member or some other administrator. But but at the same time, I don't want to just throw the whole thing out and say, no, okay, we're not going to worry about it. I'd rather take that approach. So that's my position, and frankly, I would prefer to vote no on the rescind
And
at
then
this point.
we had discussed this before, that
Wait,
our policy.
hold on, you would vote yes to rescind, because you want to rescind it.
No, I want to wait until
Oh,
we
you want to wait,
have
okay, got you. Okay.
a
sorry.
replacement. I've told, I tried to say,
I
here's
hate
what
all
I think
these
is,
anti- Yeah, no, I hear
here's
what
what I
you're
think is wrong with it.
Okay.
And I'd like to come up with a way to make sure that we can
So you vote no,
still
I get
be
it.
sure that board members are never in a position, as a former board member, at least one former board member has been, of being accused of forcing or pushing the superintendent to hire a relative. Okay?
guess my
And I'm not,
concern is-
and I'm not saying that actually happened. I just don't
Right.
want us to ever to be in that position.
I guess my concern is, I feel that we need to rescind this. I feel like we're beating a dead horse. This has been an argument, an ongoing argument for 4 years since I've been on the board. I feel like it was put in, without using our attorney's advice and his words, but it was put in for, one board member's personal agenda, and I don't think that we as a board need to look like that, and need to operate like that. I like how you said, Gary, I think best qualified. I think we as a board need to hire superintendents, that make good decisions and are picking the best educators, and if we're not confident in our superintendent, then we need to look at what we're doing. I feel strongly about it. I feel like, looking at other school districts, the fact that they don't have one, I don't understand why we need to have one. And as far as what happened in the past, we've had a lot of dysfunction in the past, and I don't feel like we need to write a policy for every loophole and every, you know, crazy thing that's ever happened, you know, I think it's almost like overkill. I just kind of want to move on and let our administrators hire the best of the best.
I think I said it before that I didn't understand why our school policy on anti-nepotism was more strict than the school board, the Ohio School Board Association's policy.
That's not their policy. Neola does not have a policy. That was Beechwood's policy that ours was modeled off of. My understanding is that Beechwood had their own policy written there. Neola does not have policy 8100. And I think,
But we had something to compare to.
it was Beechwood's
Beechwood.
policy. It was not ours. It was the policy that, which quite honestly is the only policy I can find anywhere in the state of Ohio that addresses anti-nepotism. And the response I got when I talked to our legal counsel and other superintendents, they thought that ORC addressed it, and it's, you guys got the, I won't go into what John forwarded you, but you guys saw what John's opinion on that was. In regards to that, again, John was not here when what happened, so he doesn't know the history behind it, but, so John spoke to it as it stood, as it was written, his feelings about that, so.
And I'm not opposed to the fact that if there was a situation of a relative of a school board member, just so that there would be no impropriety, that school board member doesn't necessarily have to vote in regards to that
I
person.
can't.
By ORC, they have to
Well, they
recuse
can't.
themselves.
That's what I'm saying, so
Yeah.
we would stay by that.
Yeah. Ohio Revised Code states very specifically they have to recuse
Right.
themselves from any.
So I'm with that.
I guess
That's
what,
fine.
if I could, I wasn't here for the previous discussion, so I apologize for that. But what I wanted to do is at least share my thoughts, and that is that what's concerned me about the policy is, first of all, what Mr. Sajaki referenced, which is it's flat-out prohibition on hiring family members. I think we can do better than that. Two, what concerns me is Mr. Britton had sent us an opinion that expressed his concerns with 8100, but what I was concerned is that when I looked at the fallback, I'm calling it the fallback conflicts of interest and if you want to call it nepotism policies that would remain in place, what I didn't see was any specificity with respect to guidance to board members as to what they can and can't do relative to seeking employment on one of their family members' behalf. And I've attended some Ohio Ethics Commission training sessions for public officials, which I highly recommend. But at those sessions, there's very clear guidance provided to anyone in the audience that's articulated by the Ohio Ethics Commission that that commission implements Ohio's ethics laws, and it's very clear, direct guidance. So what I'd like to see happen is that we revise this very strict anti-nepotism policy and make it more inclusive, but also put some flesh on the bones with respect to giving the board members specific guidance as to what is a prohibited conduct and what, I don't know about what isn't, but certainly what is prohibited conduct, literally as the Ohio Ethics Commission has published and has on its website. That's where I'd like to see the policy end up. That's it.
Well, so we're, like, here's my thoughts on it, Steve. So like, adopting a nepotism policy should never be about banning relatives to be employed. Bottom line, it shouldn't be. But what a really a nepotism, or what the policies, and I think that these are probably within some of the other things that were referenced, like the conflicts of interest, the code of conduct, and probably, and I haven't looked in the details, and probably some of the hiring policies would really address the concerns that we really have. Because when we're looking at those, I mean, what we're really concerned about is really that we are gonna hire the best people and then there is no favoritism. That's what we're really going down to. And so then, like, the things that we're really concerned about too, even from a, conflicts of interest, is where, that anyone that could create or could obtain something of value from the district would have the duties separated because there's a method of, or there's a trust related to people within, they're related to each other. But that doesn't mean that because they're related to each other, or they're not related to each other, that can't exist. And so I really think that though, some of the other policies in aggregate would actually address those concerns. Because the way that we hire people would probably address the favoritism, the ethics would actually, and then the conflict of interest would actually take care of the means of looking at the things that we're really worried about from a conflict of interest standpoint. And so that's where I kind of am at too, is I think that those would probably address them in aggregate. And I don't know if this really serves a purpose at this point, because I think that's what we're like I said, what we're really concerned about is whether or not we're hiring the best people, and there is no favoritism. That's the root cause of that we need to get at. And like I said, I looked at this at first, and I think it's more about perception. When we talk about nepotism policies, you really think about conflicts of interest and like, okay, where is there a problem? Okay, we're gonna have relatives, and that doesn't sound good itself. That doesn't mean that those relatives itself, like as long as those duties are separated, we have someone that's is a maintenance person and someone that works in the finance department or treasury. There's no real conflict there, and that should be accepted, really, because there's no way of obtaining value from the organization or the district.
I think John referenced in 0141.2 of conflict of interest, which we have in place. Among the conflicts which law specifically forbids is G, a board member from soliciting or using the authority or influence of his or her office to secure employment with the board, and H, a board member from voting, deliberating, participating in discussions, or otherwise using the authority or influence of his or her office to create a position with the school district or to set the compensation of such position where he/she is considering or is being considered for the employment in that position. And J, a board member from voting on a contract with a person as a teacher or instructor if he or she is related to that person as a father, mother, brother, or sister.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the last clause?
A board member from voting on a contract with that person as a teacher or instructor if he is related to that person as father, mother, brother, or sister.
Sure. No, that's the voting part of it, and I think we're all in agreement that the Ohio law is very clear.
But that's in our policies already.
Correct.
So I think I'm seeing that it's redundant if we create, first of all, to go through and share what our ethical obligations are under the preface of an anti-nepotism heading, I think is not right. I don't know, I just, and if those things are addressed in other policy numbers, how many times do we have to say, be ethical? I mean,
Yeah.
like, how many times do we have to address it? I don't know. I would like to see it rescinded.
Well, do you see it rescinded and replaced with something else,
No.
or just rescinded
No,
and to fall
rescinded. I
back?
feel like our policies we're following Neola. I feel like our policies we're updating them. I don't feel like we need to put anything else in it at this time.
Okay. Joe, Mr. Naaman, you had expressed some
Yeah,
opinion. I'm
actually-
curious to know where you would come out on this.
So, well, where I'm kind of at is like, and I think, I didn't look specifically at the hiring policies. Because, but if those policies really address the way that we employ people, I think it's covered. Okay, because you're really addressing your conflicts of interest, which is the things that we're like, again, getting value from the district, like, and that's because the duties aren't segregated. So that's the main concern from a financial perspective. But then it comes into play about favoritism. But again, when we're dealing with favoritism, that could happen whether they're relatives or not relatives. Okay, so favoritism can be, it all revolves around a person's ethics and the way that if we're hiring the right people and those decisions are being made. And so I don't know how much more prescriptive that we could be if basically hiring policies are in place, a code of ethics is in place, and a conflict of interest policies are in place. And the combinations of those three cover the concerns that we're really going after, from a financial perspective, from a personnel perspective, and from an ethics perspective.
Well, let me just ask this question to the people here in the presence. Is it permissible in Ohio law to in any way be involved in any aspect of the hiring process of a family member as defined in the law? Is it okay? Is it okay? And I don't mean,
We should be involved in any hiring process of anything. We're a school board, we're not involved in the hiring. However, we have been called to sit on interviews, like second or third round. But we're not
approve it.
involved in hiring anyone, that's not our
Yeah, but we
job.
still
Okay.
approve the hiring.
Well, we approve the hiring
Of course.
based on the recommendation.
but to be involved in that,
Are you saying, my other,
Well, I guess what, I think that's also, you have to look at it even from, like public companies too. They actually, will reward, individual employees for bringing in friends, family members, because what the thought is that those individuals basically are going to be, associating with other good individuals and other ethical people. And so they'll get compensated for basically bringing those people in, because it's probably a more, it's probably a more, I guess, a hire that they could maybe rely upon based upon another individual's, background and actually who they associate with. And so, I guess even from our perspective, as board members too, the only thing that we really impact is the hiring of the superintendent and the treasurer. And so when we're looking at those, that's the only thing that we really impact. So then, if we're looking at it from the board perspective, what would we really do? I mean, what could we really, it comes down to our ethics then. I mean, whether or not that we're going to basically make those right decisions, and that's embedded within the person. And whether we're not gonna make those ethical decisions as well. This is something that I think is probably covered in some other policies as well. That's just an opinion.
I just want to see if I'm understanding you clearly, Mr. Strickland, is that, are you saying that we have enough in place under the Ohio Revised Code that we don't need our own separate anti-nepotism?
Under the Ohio Revised Code and our own board policies, as Mr. Evans read, those were our board policies, 0400 or 0100.
41.2.
Yeah, there you go,
But,
those
Mr. Downs,
numbers.
if you could explain, like, you asked the question before about, so I understand it, because I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything either, and not looking at this wrong. So you said, is it right for us to hire a family member? I guess.
no, I said, is it okay for us to be involved in the hiring process relative to a family member? And I'm just gonna say the district.
Well, again, I would think, again, it's a matter of situation and circumstance, I guess. I mean, like I said, if that's the best qualified individual, I guess, within, and for that position, would you hire that person then, I guess, is the question.
Well, it's the question is whether any of us board members will be involved in trying to advance the interests of our family member. That's the question.
We have no part of the interview process, though. I mean,
Okay.
and I would think, let's just say,
Yeah.
like, the principal that we were sitting on, I would hope that if it was a family member being interviewed, that I wouldn't be part of that. I mean,
That's
that
what I
doesn't
would
seem
think so,
ethical.
too. But it wouldn't
You
be
know?
part of ethics. I wouldn't want to be involved
Right.
in that conversation.
Right, I would, yeah.
Okay.
But
Just
it's-
conceptually, I'm more in favor of a little more prescriptive statement in our policy than what's there presently in the policies that Mr. Evans referred to. I think that they're referring to the individual, to the board member, not necessarily to their families.
Family
I think
members.
you almost have to kind of
Yeah.
piece it together to get to saying, oh, okay, this also applies to family members.
I was thinking too, would it help if we, and again, I don't know what this looks like, but if we make it mandatory for our board members to have the ethical training once every 2 years or what have you, so at least we are, under Ohio Revised Code and all those wonderful things, however, to have that training and to maybe make it mandatory or encouraged, I don't know, that might kind of help give us the tools to.
Training's outstanding.
I was gonna ask,
I've
you've
gone to it too,
attended,
yeah.
so I'm curious to know what you think.
I've gone every year, and I think the training is outstanding, and I was a little concerned after the first year that, is this gonna be a repeat of what last year's was? And of course, I've seen it at 3 different places, so it hasn't been the same people present, but the group out of Columbus does an outstanding job, that I think you had seen them on multiple occasions. But I think every time that I've gone through the training, I think it's beneficial. It is, and I think the other part about that is in every occasion, they've allowed for you to ask questions and come up and talk to them afterwards to ask specific questions. They don't do the training and then run out of the room. So I think very oftentimes I look around the room and people are sitting in the room and they have specific questions about maybe what's going on in their village or city or organization. And that group has always made themselves available to answer questions. And quite honestly, the group out of Columbus is a group, if they don't have answers for you, they refer you to that group from Columbus that has come up and presented in the past, because that's I think the one young lady is kind of, a lot of things get followed.
Susan,
And I
what
think that what's good about that is that there's a consistency in the answer, that if you don't call down and get 4 different people, you get 4 different answers. I think what I found from her is extreme. I mean, I've heard her a couple times, and there's a lot of consistency to what she says. And, you know, I've heard a lot of people ask her the same question different ways, and she's very good at what she does.
We're kind of bringing this back to Mrs. Schukert's idea, is what's on the table is for this policy to be rescinded in its entirety. Is there an appetite among this board to do something more in terms of suggestions or mandates for ethical training or for the board? Or is that something that the board is interested in, or is it rescind the policy and just rely on these other policies that are there?
I think just personally, anything to be better and to learn more is
Right.
good. And I did one of them down at OSBA, because don't they usually offer it
Yes.
on one of the days?
It's always offered at OSBA.
Yeah, I remember you went to
Yeah.
it, and I didn't because I had been to the one in Cleveland just the year
It's
before.
offered
So
at
maybe,
OSBA every
you know,
year.
maybe we kind of flag down those trainings a little bit more and try to be more aware and,
Did you find it beneficial?
yeah, absolutely,
Good.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm all for that too. I mean,
June 19th.
I'm all for, you know, more ethics training, or actually having us to have training. I administer at my organization, I actually put together the training programs and put the code of business conduct together. And administer that to 12,000 people. So, I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, and the more that we can have, the better. It doesn't mean that you're going to be ethical, but you have the training that's gonna provide that. And then we have, I guess, even though that trust isn't a control, we have a trust among us that basically we're gonna do the right thing for the district. And that's the bottom line, basically.
And one of the important pieces of any policy is that it survives the current composition of the board and administration, and that it's something that people can refer to in years gone, or years hence. And that's one of the things that I am concerned with is not necessarily here and now, but kind of looking down the road as to changes and whether a policy, a more detailed policy would be helpful. But your
again,
idea
you
about
could-
training is.
And you could rescind the,
Of course.
you know, as we are.
But you'd
you
have to
know,
have
the
a
ebbs and
majority
flows.
of people
Yeah,
in a-
yeah, absolutely.
Pretty hearty conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think if you, if, and I haven't looked at these in the detail of like hiring policy, but if, you know, that, if we can look at those, maybe that's a section where you can boost that one up if it doesn't appear to be strong enough from a favoritism perspective. Or basically to enhance that. I haven't looked at it in detail. But I, when I looked at this, you know, like I said, I first looked at it and saw, well, nepotism, that's a problem, but when you step it back, and that's not really the problem. It's really that you're gonna hire the best people. And if our hiring policies aren't strong enough to address that, it should. And that's probably where it belongs then. Because then you're layering it with ethics, code of conduct, and a hiring policy that would actually really put us, you know, in a strong position then. And then supplement that with the ethics training by all the board members to do every 2 years, whatever it may be, whatever we just want to establish. And I think that's probably where I'd stand with this whole thing.
John had an interesting comment in our conversation today. I thought one of the things that he said is that the board members need to understand that if a board member walks in the superintendent's office and says, hey, my whatever relative saw this opening and they want to turn in an application, I want to make sure you pay attention to that. And the superintendent should have to turn around and say, well, you just took somebody off the list, because that's the wrong thing to do. You can't do that as a board member. Now that person's off the list. That's kind of the way John put it, that board members need to understand that we cannot encourage in any way, shape, or form a relative, to be hired by the superintendent or anybody else who's doing the hiring. Did I say that well?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's kind of why I wanted to have a conversation about specific conduct, because the conduct that the OAC is concerned with way precedes the actual vote on hiring someone. It's right from the inception of the hiring conversation, and whether let's just say a board member, is actively soliciting the interests of their family member for a particular position. Even at that very
You're
early
not in your
juncture,
head.
there's a problem, and that's why
We're
nobody.
saying the same thing, like.
right,
Oh
we
my
are,
God.
I think we're all saying the same thing, we just don't know how to, we're just disagreeing on
That's
how
why
we're
I
gonna
said
I
get
put
think
it
it
in
just
black
needs
and
to
white.
come to a vote, and we need to.
Okay.
So,
I mean,
like,
that's
I
kind of-
couldn't say, oh, I know that there's an opening for a school psychologist. I'm gonna mention it to my niece, she might wanna apply. I can't even say that to the superintendent?
No, you
You
tell
say it to
your,
your niece, you shouldn't say it to me.
exactly.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't.
Tell your niece-
You say
Really
to your
shouldn't.
niece, our district has an opening for a school psych, but you shouldn't approach me with that in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So is there any place that so say this is never brought up, and you interview my niece, is there any point that I'm supposed to say, hey, by the way, that's my niece?
No, that's the whole point.
Right.
Like nowhere along the way?
Well,
No,
if
because
it-
that's the whole point, that you saying that could
If it-
potentially have
When
influence.
it would come to a vote before the board for the approval of that contract, if that person got that far, you would say, I need to recuse myself.
Okay,
Yeah,
Right.
because she's
That's
my niece.
Disclose it there. You have to
That's the first
disclose
time you
So
get
that's where you
involved,
would
is to
disclose it.
recuse
it.
yourself.
Because otherwise you'll be using your power to actually
And-
influence.
so that's what this is then?
Yeah,
Not even, like, so disclosing it early is not good then?
Right.
It's what you guys are saying is not
right.
acceptable?
And that's why I'm concerned about rescinding the policy completely without doing something else to replace it to make sure that we are protecting ourselves.
I feel
And
protected.
therefore our relatives. when-
I
if
feel
it comes to that,
protected. I mean, I feel
right?
like if this were that big of a deal, we would
And-
find more school districts with the policy. You know what I
just feel
mean?
like
Like-
what's with the Ohio Revised Code is fine.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we need to make our policy mimic that and say we are following the Ohio Revised Code when it comes to,
You don't, we have
Nepotism.
to,
It's
it's
not-
law.
yeah.
I know,
it's not
but
worth
do
the
we need
trouble.
to say that more?
Anything
not
that we
worth
don't
the
have
trouble.
in policy automatically falls back to Ohio Revised Code.
I know, but if we rescind this policy tonight, then are the people saying, oh, they're just doing what they want to do? Do we need to then put a policy in place that emphasizes that we will follow the Ohio Revised Code as we're supposed to?
No, because other school districts don't even have this.
That's probably in our opening policies, a statement in regards to Ohio Revised Code.
Yeah, that is there.
I know that I'm sounding redundant, but I'm wondering if it makes us appear more.
I don't know how much more transparent we could be. There's a law and we're following it.
Right, but based on the conversation that's gone on in the last couple of minutes, it's pretty clear that we don't all understand that level of detail, right? And it's that understanding I want to make sure we have. I don't mind rescinding the policy. I mean, I may even change my mind and vote yes at the moment. I don't mind rescinding the policy as long as we agree that we're going to put something in place that makes it clear to ourselves and those who succeed us,
'Cause-
right? That this is the way you do it. You don't, just what we described, you never address it at the beginning. Nobody knows that that's a relative.
It's not
unless
true,
it's
nobody
obvious.
knows, because
And so-
Tom could know very well, that they're a relative.
Yeah.
We grew up in this district.
Right.
However, for us to acknowledge it,
Yes.
that's the part.
That's the part that
That's-
we need to make sure
And it
that
seems
we all
innocuous.
know and avoid.
It
So-
seems
Yeah.
innocuous, but it isn't. That's
Yeah.
the problem. That's the, and again, the here and now is okay, but looking forward, the
Looking forward,
composition will change on the board, and that's
And
what
the
I'm
board
concerned
can
about.
do anything they, like,
Okay.
I don't know, the composition of the board, vote for ethical people, and if you don't, you're gonna get a whirlwind like we did.
But
And it ebbs and flows.
So I'm looking right now at the employment of professional staff. So that would be a hiring policy. And it basically says right in there, it says teachers shall be highly qualified. And highly qualified is defined of what that is. So if you're going off of that, and you're saying there's gonna have to be a justification for why those qualifications are not being met, than if you're gonna present it to the board. That with, again, layering the ethics and the conflicts of interest would probably, and I would, for the non-professional staff, I'd have to look at that too, but if that's defined that way, then I think I feel pretty comfortable with that layering of controls.
I like the idea too with the ethics train, like if you talk about future boards, if you say, and again, I don't know if you could make it, it wouldn't be a policy, but if, you know, our board members are trained, you know, every year or every other year, I think that just is something that this, you know, Cuyahoga Heights can kind of take pride in, that their board members are trained under ethics, but you can never force anyone to do anything, you
No.
know, but I highly encourage them.
Well,
And if somebody's not being ethical and you feel like there's this, there's ways to report it too.
Well, actually,
They
I
won't do
mean,
anything,
I know
but-
that it's, you know, we're elected positions, but I mean, it's like, for our company, I mean, it's a condition of employment. I mean, you're gonna sign the code of business conduct, and you're going to abide by it. If you're not employed there. Bottom line.
And that's possible.
And that's the oath of office you take care as a board member.
Right. Okay, can we put it to a vote? I mean, is there any other discussion?
I don't have any more discussion.
No, nothing further than I've already said.
Are you okay? Joe?
Nothing else, I mean, like I said, I think, I mean, I haven't gone into the employment of non-professional staff, but in looking at this, I think it's covered in basically the employment policies, the ethics, the code of ethics, and also the conflict of interest policies. And therefore, I don't think it's necessary, because again, you know, I guess my last statement is that hiring a relative is, and banning that's really not a nepotism policy. It shouldn't be part of that adoption, so.
Okay, so at this time, can we have a roll call? And just a reminder, the
Reread the-
motion
just
is
reread the
to
motion.
rescind the policy, meaning take away the policy that was created a couple years ago.
Right.
Mr. Souchaki?
Nay?
Mr. Dobbins?
I'll vote yes to rescind it. Vote yes.
Mrs.
Begrudgingly.
Utter?
Yes.
Mr. Naaman?
Aye, yes.
Mrs. Schuker?
Aye. So motion passes 4-1. And I'd just like to say too, maybe we can add that to possible future items too, to talk about what to do now.
See, because
Right,
I do think that there's a subsequent
Yes.
part to this. Okay, so we agreed that, in 4-1 vote, that's gonna be put in place, but I do think now there's a ethics training that needs to occur, and we probably all need to do that.
We are all on the same page,
Yep,
right?
And there's 1
Just a
through
little
19.
different feeling on how to get to the end result.
exactly,
I forget what you said.
exactly.
Okay, and so maybe, again, just getting that information, we'll talk about it future agenda
Okay.
item. Okay. Ooh, now,
That was a tough
possible
one.
discussion items. So I think this is our board, no, it's not, our board committee things. Under discussion items, the only item I had that I added in my notes was to set up a date for a special meeting to meet with Mr. Muccio and Mr. Evans for their evaluation. First of all, I wanted to say, how much time do we think? Do we think a half an hour would be okay? Gary, you've been through this a zillion times. Do you think a half hour apiece
Oh,
is?
yeah, I would think so. I
Okay,
mean, that's my
Mark,
personal
you-
opinion, but.
I don't know if I was even.
I think you and I
was.
met.
Yeah, you two were the officers.
Yeah, we
I
met. I think we did, I think a half hour would be fine, and then if,
Yeah.
do you think that's okay, Mr. Evans and Mr. Muccio, a half
Sure.
hour?
Whatever you decide. If
That's
Okay.
right, that's right.
It's all day, it's all day.
just the
It's-
two of you.
it's- we're in your-
No!
we're in your-
No, it was the
we're in
two of you.
your-
Questions on top
we're in
of
your-
after dinner.
Right, no, this time it would be the two of you,
Right.
is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
yeah. And I-
Okay.
And I think we did do it, I think we did less
Well,
than
this
half
time
an
we're
hour.
doing the whole board, so.
Oh, we are doing the whole
we-
board this
Yes, we
time.
are doing the whole board. We
Okay.
talked about all board
I'm
members are
sorry, I
equal.
lost
That's okay,
track.
that's why we're gonna call a special meeting. So,
I believe
talking
we
about
all should
dates
be
in
there.
June.
Okay.
Dates in June.
I am definitely out from the 14th through the,
I know you you said do a doodle. Mr. Evans, I didn't listen to you.
Calendar with me.
The 14th, and I'll be back on the 24th.
When's our meeting, the 12th?
12th and 26th?
Yes.
Correct.
And I have to be out for work next Monday and Tuesday.
The 13th work for anyone?
That would work for me.
Yeah, that's okay here too.
It's a Thursday?
It's a Thursday.
What
the day
time?
What time, Joe, you're the one with,
The
I-
crazy schedule.
Because I do have
I mean-
something
Oh,
that
you
night.
do?
Well, I do, but it's.
it would be an hour, just an hour
So-
tops.
So I can either do it in the morning, or I could do it in the evening too, either way. And it's tough, because.
It's my first day of vacation, man, but I will wake up early to get this over with.
Okay. Yeah, well,
How early?
tell me,
I'm not retired, so.
I'll be here whenever you tell me.
Yeah. I'll
Whatever the
be
clerk
here.
says,
I mean,
I'm fine with it.
I won't be very
What's good
awake, but
for
I'll be
you?
here.
Are you going into work that day, or you have that day off?
no, I'm going into work, it's the first day before.
So what time works for you?
Yeah, Joe, I mean, you're the one
What
that has to
time
get to
before or
work, so.
after works for you? Just,
I mean,
shout-
like, say, it's like, I mean, anytime it's
8.
like,
Did you say 8?
well, it could be even 7 if you want.
I'm gonna put my foot down. That's ridiculous, that hour.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
It's up at 5.
That is crazy. Are you guys even, well,
They
you're
have to
here.
be there too.
you
Well,
you
the
can't ask
town
me
is
that
here at 6
question,
on
Lindy.
Friday, so that doesn't matter.
They have to
8
be there
o'clock's
too,
fine.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Eight-
so,
Eight's good.
8 does 8
Eight's
work?
fine. Yeah, we could do that. I can.
Okay.
Muccio?
or we could do in the, what, on the back end, what's the back end for you?
I'd say 5, maybe.
Does that mess
maybe
up your
a little
evening
early.
plans?
It's okay. What I'm doing is not terrible.
I could
I have to
probably-
be somewhere at 6, but I could be late.
I could probably try to squeeze it out, and I could probably do 4 if you want.
Ooh, how about 4:30?
4:30.
Would that be okay for you two?
Yep.
But that makes their day longer then, right?
Well, 4:30, Evans lives
It's
here.
9:40 right now, Mrs. Jetter, so the conversation's right out the window.
apologize. I'm just trying to see if I can.
I don't know. Whatever you guys wanna do. I'm not gonna be I don't care. We can do morning, we
Would
can do
4
morning.
is 4:30 okay for you?
I'll make it work.
Okay, so June 13th, 4:30. We'll do
Oh, I forgot
4:30.
what June 13th was too. Morning would not work for me on June 13th.
Oh, good. See?
I have something at 7:30 in the morning.
Okay, so June 13th, let's do Mr. Evans at 4:30 and Mr. Muccio at 5.
Okay,
Is that okay with everyone?
Sure.
that's good. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you all.
Then Lindy, I'll send out the notice with that.
Oh, yes. Can you send that notice out, please, Muccio? Oh, thank you.
Who are we doing first?
Evans.
Okay.
Okay, so board committee, reports and comments. Who feels like they want to talk? Joe,
I'll
go
start it off,
for it.
why not?
Okay.
So we had a finance committee meeting on the 22nd of May, where Mr. Muccio led the group of a number of people. Mr. Evans was there, Mr. Martin, Mr. Gallick, Mrs. Schukert, myself, I'm missing
Dr.
someone.
Claris.
Dr. Claris, yes, that's
Mr.
right.
Dobbins.
And actually, yeah,
Mr.
he did-
Dobbins.
Mr. Dobbins was there too, yes. I remember all this. All my notes went away. And actually, we went over the 5-year forecast. Yeah, thank you for putting that together. It was done really well. It was good. I think it was well received as also. Just going to say, good luck to everyone with finals this week. Congratulations to all the seniors and their graduations, and hopefully everyone has a safe summer. Thank everybody from the maintenance to teachers to the administration for the year and getting through the year. It's been a really successful year, and it's been great. So thank you all.
First, I want to say something that I forgot to say the last time, and that was directed to you, Mr. Muccio, on getting the clean audit. And I thought that was great, and I'm sorry that I was remiss last time and didn't mention it.
It's really for the staff, so it's not
Well,
me,
I'd like
but
to,
yeah.
I'd like to acknowledge you and the staff for doing a good job, and we appreciate it. And then moving on to other things, I attended our senior night, and I just because of my own curiosity, sitting back there just listening to all the wonderful accomplishments of our seniors, and all the wonderful support that we get in terms of scholarships for our young people. And it's always just a good night for me. I just like to just take that all in. And I just wish there was a way that we could say how much money was actually given out that night. And I think people would be just totally amazed by that. And I thought graduation was very nice as well. We have a great, this was a great graduating class with a lot of achievements, and it looks like their futures are going to be very bright. I'd like to also acknowledge the fact that our band on Memorial Day goes to all 3 villages and marches in all 3 of these parades. And we even have students there who graduated the day before, and yet they're seniors and they're still in this band, going from village to village. And I just appreciate that, and I made a mention of that to Mr. Sokol when I saw him. And just want to say I'm glad I was here again tonight to see the accomplishments of our May Students of the Month. I think
Well,
that's it.
You stole my thunder.
Did I again?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's
Maybe
all right.
one of these times I should go last.
Yeah. I went to only 2 Memorial Day parades this year. I have done all 3 in the past, but.
27 for 27 in 9 years, so.
All right.
But I know Mr. Evans does all 3.
I saw him there.
And I think that's great, and I agree completely. And I talked to Mr. Sokol too, and I talked to some of the alumni who were students the day before, but now are alumni who are there anyway, and
Yep.
and thank them for being there. It is pretty special that the band goes to all 3
It's a commitment.
communities, you know. Sometimes you would think that there'd be another way to do this, but there's 3 mayors, 3 councils, and they each wants to have their own parade, and the school district is nice enough to be part of that and to show up for all of those, and it really is appreciated. Doing 3 is all tough. Like I said, I did it as scoutmaster 20-some years ago, but I haven't done it for like the last 18
I think the
years.
mayors
don't
too.
think.
I think each mayor personally for
Yeah.
working with each other to adjust that schedule.
Yes.
And John hustles them and he moves them along as quickly as they can, and that, you know, sometimes we get the value a little bit late because one of them ran a little bit longer, but.
I don't know which one that
I thank
might
Mayor
be.
Piasecki for always being patient with us and, because it's just such a big part of it, so.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty special. It's a great way to end, to bring the year to a conclusion, the school year, so, as summer begins, so. Anyhow, that was all I had. Oh, and then, I'm sorry, Career Center meeting is tomorrow night, so, board meeting.
I don't have anything to add beyond what's already been said, except I will say I plan on attending the BEST committee presentations to the 3 village councils next week.
I just want to say congrats to class of 2019 and for students and staff. They better be doing well in their finals and have a happy summer. That's all I've got. Okay, it should be noted that Board of Education members receive their agendas several days prior to the actual meeting. Thus, they've had considerable opportunity to study it, ask questions, et cetera. Future agenda items, I did go ahead and put ethics training for board members. Are there any other items that you could think of?
Next Monday, what time are we cooking out, Ted, for the staff? 11 or noon?
11 o'clock they eat.
11.
You're all invited to lunch at 11,
I thought it was 12.
and then the awards at 12, I think.
Yes.
So I have to come at 11 if I want to eat?
Well, there'll be plenty of food, Mrs. Etter, I guarantee you. I know the chef.
Man, it is early. Okay.
I know the chef, he'll cook enough.
Yeah, and you said that was Monday, right?
Correct.
Okay, upcoming regular board meetings are Wednesdays at 7 PM, and the following dates, June 12th, June 26th, August 7th, and August 21st. At this time, 9:48, I hereby move that the board adjourn to executive session pursuant to ORC Section 121.22G1 for the purpose of considering the evaluation, employment, and/or compensation of employees and/or officials of the school district. Can I have a second motion?
I'll second.
Second, or I was gonna say firsted. First by Lindy, seconded by Joe. Roll call. Or discussion, is there discussion? Sorry. Okay, hearing none.
Adjourn? No, we're-
Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Schukert.
Aye.
Mr. Naaman.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. It is 9:48, and we are in executive session with no action taken. Gary, what do I say? I just say what time it is and then
Actually, you have to call the roll.
call roll, okay.
Yeah, we're adjourning we're adjourning, this is the time, call the roll.
Okay. Can you guys turn on like one of the mics down there? Please, we don't need it. Okay, so it is 10:29 PM. We are adjourning from executive session. Roll call, Mr. Naaman.
Here.
Mrs. Etter.
Here.
Mrs. Suchaki.
Here.
Mr. Dobbins.
Here.
Mrs. Schukert here. 5 present, none absent. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Naaman,
Second.
seconded by, was it Mr. Suchaki? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned at 10:30 PM.
Very good.
You didn't ask me.